We're now live. Sorry, everybody, for the delayed start. Just myself and Mr. Liam Tully here so far, but Jay's Fight Talk. Fear not, he will be here shortly, caught in a little bit of traffic. How's things, Liam, first off, my friend?
Yeah, all good, my man. Love a Wednesday night, always favourite night of the week, so looking forward to getting cracking again.
Absolutely. We've been looking forward to this week for a good while, haven't we? We've been talking about it on many of the previous shows. Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol fight week is... It's in full flow now. I think they did the grand arrivals last night, the open workouts this evening.
Right now.
Right now. Obviously, tomorrow will be the final presser, won't it? Then Wayne's Friday. Then it's Beterbiev versus Bivol fight night. So, agenda for this show, we'll cover obviously Beterbiev versus Bivol. We'll talk plenty of news that's been coming up as well, including the December the 21st undercard that Turki Al-Sheikh announced last night. There's plenty of other things going on in the world of boxing right now. You know, Anthony Yard signed with Boxer. We've got all that coming on. You know, there's plenty of other nuggets for us to get into. But we'll start with this weekend, Saudi, obviously. Huge card. We'll start with Sky Nicholson versus Raven Chapman for the WBC Featherweight Championship of the World. First female world title fight in Saudi Arabia. Thoughts on it, mate?
It's another step on the journey for Sky, I believe, without being too dismissive of Raven. I said similar last night with Jay. If you compare the amateur career of the two women before you even get to them being as pros, Sky was an Olympian, got to the quarterfinals. She had over 170 amateur fights compared to Raven, who after 22 fights decided to turn over to be a pro. So even before you get to what they've done so far as professionals, there's a vast gap in their experience levels. One of my concerns with Sky has been that she hasn't fully transitioned her amateur style into a professional ring yet.
Yeah, she doesn't sit down on her punches, does she?
Doesn't sit down on punches. She's very... Jay's not here to enjoy this. She's very cute. She's very... she's lovely to watch. But if you watch 2 minutes of her fight, go out, make a brew, come back in the fourth or fifth round, you're seeing exactly the same thing. There doesn't seem to be enough level changes, enough gear changes. And that is possibly, for me, where Raven has a leveler in the fight, because she does like to get on the inside. She does like to try and rough her opponents up a bit more. If she can throw Sky out of her rhythm, then, of course, she has a chance. But it's nice and quiet about him.
There's rumours that he's coming. He's been sabotaged on the motorway on the way home, but fear not, the housewives that are with us, Jay's Fight Talk, will be here shortly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sky and Raven, before we're rudely interrupted.
Yeah, no. Look, if Raven can make it into a dogfight, throw Sky off of a rhythm, and allow her to become flustered and unsettled, and she has a chance. But it comes back to a conversation we were having after the weekend where we had Dixon, Harper, Ryan and Meyer and all of that. The fact it's 2 minute rounds, it can take 90 seconds sometimes for the styles to gel and a round to get going. And after 30 seconds, the bell goes and it's the end of the round, and you're left scoring a round where not a lot's actually happened. So what do you judge it? This is another advocate for where 3 minutes rounds, while we may not want to see 36 minutes if Sky is able to rinse and repeat a performance for that long, it would possibly allow Raven to come into the fight more for me.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I've called the upset in this one. I think Raven might be able to get like, don't get me wrong, it could be 10-0 to Sky Nicholson. Don't get me wrong, yeah. It could be one of them. But I just think, big up, Mr. Luca. How are you, sir? Thanks for tuning in. Think Sky's high chin is a vulnerability, but not sure Sky will be able to get close enough to take advantage. Yeah, I think you mean Raven might not be able to get close enough to take advantage. I think I agree with you, Luca. To be fair, I just think that Raven might. I think she might nick a really close decision. I don't know though. Yes, I'm with you, Luca. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's either 10-0 Sky, a complete schooling, or Raven edges it for me, and I'm leaning towards Raven.
If Raven edges it, then it's an ugly fight, if that makes sense. So that doesn't mean I think there's going to be a load of blood, a load of knockdowns, etc. Hold on. Did you go to TKO last night, Jay? I'm sure you only went Raven on points yesterday.
Nah, he changes his mind more than his underwear.
No, I'm not saying there'll be loads of knockdowns, loads of cuts, but Raven will have to make it a messy fight, because if Sky gets into her rhythm, she's away. That's a 9-1, 10-0 kind of fight, and there'll be nothing Raven can do about it. You've only got 20 minutes. You need to maximize it from minute 1 to minute 20. You need to sit on Sky's chest. Don't let her get settled. Force the referee to have to separate you, because that's buying time out of a round. That's making Sky distracted. That's not allowing her to settle into her game plan, which she's fantastic with, by the way. That's what we need to see from Raven. I just question whether she's ready to do that yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jay reckons TKO 8 for Raven Chapman. Big shout, but the man is full of big shouts. He'll be with us very shortly. Fear not, those loyal Jay's Fight Talk fans. I know there's plenty of them that tune in every week to this show. So yeah, that covers Sky Nicholson against Raven Chapman. Me and Liam were chatting off air. I don't know. There's been so much around the order of this card. Obviously, Fraser Clark and Fabio Wardley, everyone thinks that should be the chief support or the co-main event, depending on your vocabulary. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Zerameta was always placed below Beterbiev and Bivol, wasn't it? But Liam, we were chatting, and maybe seems to think that Ben Whittaker versus Liam Cameron might kick off. Well, sorry, there's one fight on before, isn't there? But
there's a 6th rounder, so it's one of Joe Gallagher's fighters that he's bringing through into his and Saudi gym, and then I believe it's going to go into Ben Whittaker, Liam Cameron.
Well, I guess in fairness, it's a world title fight, Sky against Raven, so I get that, but you know, it's the least hyped fight out of the main fights, isn't it? Let's be completely honest.
It definitely is. And look, before we move on any further, it's fantastic that these women's fights now, I mean, let's hope more come in 2025. Look, one criticism we've had is we haven't seen any female fighters given the opportunity on the platform that Turkey created with Riyadh season. This is the first one this weekend. Let's hope it's not a stinker from the girls. Let's hope it's a good fight and that we get to see more of it next year. A close, cagey fight will probably be better for us seeing more of it than a 10-0 shutout from Sky, if that makes sense. Because obviously you showcase to Turkey that you got talent. That's how you get put back on these cards. And that's what we want to see. We want to see more female fights being given the opportunity, don't we?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's an important fight for both. Obviously, to win, that goes without saying, but to actually showcase female boxing in Saudi Arabia, that's where, you know, Turkey and everyone have been hesitant to put female fights on their cards. They've given it a chance this time. I'm sure Eddie and Frank have been, you know, talking up Raven and Sky all week to Turkey or however often they're meeting him. Luca reckons 3 rounds, then we can have more in Riyadh season. Yeah, 3-minute rounds, man. That's the way forward. Like, you know, Michaela Meyer against Ryan, all these other. I mean, the only I guess the only fight where for me it's really played out, the couple of fights, is Serrano Taylor and Taylor Cameron a few times where the 2-minute rounds have played into the favor of it being a better fight. Big up DJ Pat. I hope you're well, my friend. Looking forward to the fights, mate. Thanks for tuning in. Got a stacked show ahead.
2-minute rounds for me make it a sprint rather than an endurance marathon, if that makes sense. So by that, I mean, if the females know they've got 2 minutes around to work, that's 20 minutes. So they've got less time to empty their gas tank over. So they're not as worried about holding out for the back end of the fight where it gets tough, like we see in male championship fights in rounds 10, 11, 12. If you put it up to 3 minutes, then you're going to get more competitive, more cagey fights. We're not saying at all that females turning over that are still learning their trade need to go straight into 3-minute rounds. But at the top end, when it's world championship action, doesn't matter if it's 10 threes or 12 threes, 3-minute rounds are a must.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know where Luca's coming from with this, because he didn't recognize Bivol, did he, at one point, or he didn't want Russians fighting for the WBC championship. Mauricio
said this fight would never be unification undisputed fight, didn't he?
And then Turkey's managed to swindle Mauricio around. I wonder what happened there.
The reason, look, if anyone's got a chance, it's Turkey. But the reason we've ended up in a position where this belt's away from Amanda Serrano is because the WBC won't recognise 3-minute rounds for female championship fights. So that's why the WBC belt got separated. That's why Sky was upgraded from interim to full world champion. That's the position we're in. Mauricio is set his stall out as the WBC. And he's a stubborn man, isn't he? Look, not a lot of airtime was given to the fact that Russian fighters were banned from the WBC because the U-turn happened quite quickly, if that makes sense. Everyone knows his stance when it comes to female fights, which is why Sky is the champion. So I think it would take a lot more maybe than even Turkey throwing him a couple of round envelopes to change his mind on this. He's a 100%. Stubborn man stuck in his ways, isn't he? To the detriment of boxing at times.
Yeah, correct. DJ Pat reckons Sky unanimous decision. Depends if Sky slacks in the end of the fight and Raven can take a couple of rounds. Yeah, fair assessment that, Pat. I think you know, if Sky gets in the rhythm, it's going to be a very long night for Raven. I just think that Raven does have a chance in this fight, but if Sky's on it, like you're saying, she doesn't slack off. I'm banking on a slacking off maybe in my prediction. If she's on it, then it's going to be tough for Raven to get close, as Luca alluded to earlier. But yeah, we'll leave that one there then. Sky against Raven. That'll whether it kicks off the card or whether Whittaker Cameron kicks off the card. We'll go to Whittaker Cameron next. Step up in competition for Ben Whittaker. Watch the Gloves Are Off or whatever it's called, Face Off.
Yeah.
You know, there's that many different names for him. It was on TNT. Fletch did it. Darren Fletcher, I think, did.
The Face Off.
Yeah. It was really interesting, actually. Cameron stuck it on him a little bit, but Ben looked cool and calm and collected. There was a bit more needle in the fight than I was expecting there to be. Liam Cameron really fancies the job here, and you know that's not to say that he's gonna beat Ben Whittaker. It's not to say he's gonna knock out Ben Whittaker. But one thing about him is he's not gonna buy into this Ben Whittaker hype. He's not gonna buy into all the showboat and all the Liam Cameron's gonna be there to fight. This guy has gone through a hell of a lot. Whether he should have gone for it, whether he shouldn't, I'm not going to get involved with that. But he's been through a hell of a lot. This is his big moment for Ben Whittaker. He's going to have many more big moments. Liam Cameron, it's all or nothing on Saturday night in Riyadh. He's going to come and give it a right go against Ben Whittaker.
I want to carry on that hype train. I want to agree with everything you've just said. And whilst I agree, in that face-off, he stuck it on Ben Whittaker. Talk is one thing. Delivering in the ring is another thing on Saturday night. And for me, Liam Cameron is a fringe British level fighter at best, especially with his age, especially with his record. That's where he's at. Ben Whittaker, we're already saying, is European world level potentially in the future. Definitely British Commonwealth level at the moment. I don't think it's a close fight, unfortunately. As much as I'd love Liam Cameron to come out and maximize the moment and test Ben Whittaker, I don't think it's going to be a close fight. I think Ben is going to be frustrating to watch again. I described him as an enigma earlier when you put a post out. Use one word to describe him. He's going to showboat. He's going to have a few moments. He may take his foot off the gas and coast for a little bit, but ultimately, I think he's going to put on a performance this weekend. He's gone back to his showmanship act in that face-off, saying, doesn't matter. I've not needed to show my levels, X, Y, and Z, which is what you expect from him. But then in other interviews, he said that he's slightly not upset, but he's not happy with some of the criticism that he seems to carry opponents, that he doesn't have the power, that he seems to be happy to coast the rounds, which is what he's done in his last two fights against Leon Willings and the fight at Selhurst Park. If that's true and he is upset with it and he does want to make a statement, then he's going to look to do it on Saturday night. Because he's got dollar signs in his eyes. The kid wants the money. The kid wants the razzmatazz. And Turkey's the man to do it for him. If he goes out there and stinks the gap out for 10 rounds, he's fighting on wherever boxers do their cards next year, in the parking lot at Sky or wherever they're going to do it. That's where he'll be fighting. If he makes a statement, he guarantees himself to be on one of the first Riyadh season cards next year. And I think he's going to make that statement. Look, Liam Cameron's getting this opportunity for me off of his story, as opposed to his boxing ability. And I agree with you, Luca. I said in my prediction that I think Ben's going to win on points.
You know what? I thought Whittaker points throughout the whole build-up, and and I've predicted it. I've put out many a video that I'm with Luca. I don't believe he can knock him out. As it gets closer, I'm leaning towards the fact that he might stop him. It is coming into my head now. Just like when you think of the levels, can Whittaker knock him out? We don't know, but is he saving? What I'm trying to get at, is he saving a big performance for this kind of stage? I guess that's
where I'm at, mate. Look, my prediction is he's going to win on points, and I'm hoping if he wins on points, it's a 10-round, 30-minute performance, not where we have him coasting, carrying his opponent back to the corner, X, Y, and Z. He is full throttle, showing off what his boxing skills are for 30 minutes. If in the process of a performance like that, he's able to break Liam Cameron down and he gets a TKO stoppage either via Liam Cameron's corner pulling him out or the ref saying you've taken enough, that's it, then fantastic. We don't necessarily need to see a stoppage on Saturday night. But what we do need to see is a full fight performance. None of this bravado and tomfoolery and all that other crap. We need to see a full throttle performance that goes the distance from Ben Whittaker. If not, he's not going to get back on these cards. Turkey's not going to put substandard fights on. You get one chance with him. If you mess up, that's you gone.
Yeah, that's the thing. And like you say, we've seen it so many times in the heavyweight division as well. You look at Kabiel, Bacoli, Joseph Parker. You know, it's winner stays on. And that's what Liam Cameron has to think about too. If he beats Ben Whittaker, he could be a feature on the Riyadh season cards. You know, look at Kakachi you were speaking about the other week. You know, this guy's life's changed. You know, you change your life with 1 or 2 wins on these Riyadh season cards. As simple as that.
You maximise the moment. Ben Whittaker, Liam Cameron as well. Don't get me wrong. If he can pull it off, then he is maximising a moment for the fall. But to carry on the Ben Whittaker theme, if he puts in a performance, he puts in a 10-round masterclass. If he gets the stoppage, he is maximising his moment, and he can, you know, book himself a nice suite in Riyadh because that's where he's going to be having his fights next year. That's Turkey will have him back. And the light heavyweight division, we know he likes the light heavyweight division. Now, we're not saying he's ready to jump in with Bivol or Beterbiev yet. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what you or Jay think either. But there's enough fights out there to make within the light heavyweight division that can fit into Turkey's pictures. He likes to build pictures on cards, doesn't he? He likes to build pictures of things that can happen in the future. And Ben's in the perfect position to maximise those opportunities, but he has to perform on Saturday. If he spends 10 rounds doing what he done at Selhurst Park in June, you're not going to see him.
Turkey isn't going to accept that. And I'd imagine that Shalom and his team, and even probably Turkey himself personally, you know, is probably been in his ear saying you need to go out and stick it on him and stop him here. You cannot put him another one of those Aaron Yecker or Willings performances out here. You know, yes, you might be levels above this guy, but, you know, you need to go out and show it on Saturday. And I don't mean by walking him around for an easy decision. You know, don't stick it on him and go and try and stop him. And all the talk that Whittaker's given before it, all the energy in that face-off that I was watching on TNT, you know, he sounds like he's going to do that. But again, saying it and doing it are 2 completely different things. Is he a safety first fighter?
Sorry, mate. My issue is with Ben. He's said it all year. He said it. Aaron Yetter gate crashed the press conference before the Leon Willings fight, didn't he? Had to get dragged away by security. Yeah. Whatever sort of stunt that was, that's what happened. He said, I'm going to make him pay for doing that. You disrespected me and my opponent before this fight. 15th of June, I'm going to make you pay. He tried to make him pay in the last 20 seconds of the fight after he had multiple opportunities with his opponent more hurt. He's now saying the same about Liam Cameron. Is he a safety first fighter? Does he know he hasn't got the power, so he hides behind the showmanship, so people are talking about something else other than his lack of power, if that makes sense? We're going to find out more on Saturday night. Yeah,
we're going to find out a lot. We're not going to find out much out about Liam Cameron. I don't think we know what he's about. We're going to find out a bit about Ben Whittaker, I think, on Saturday, and I'm very interested in seeing what happens there. And Jaya Pataya, Jack Massey, IBF Cruiserweight Championship of the World on the line just in time. We've got the main man
boys.
Here.
The Housewife's favourite returns. Here he is.
I do apologise.
The views are about to skyrocket through the roof.
Housewives, you can start watching again now. I'm here.
Yeah.
Sorry, boys.
Just in time then, Jay?
Yeah. Where we at?
We're getting a bit of feedback off something, I think.
There's an echo coming off the Joe, I think.
Any better?
We'll test it. Yeah, no, that's all right. Yeah, so Jaya Pataya against Jack Massey. IBF Cruiserweight Championship of the World on the line. Opataya's fought, obviously, against Bradis last time out. Then he fought Ellis Zorro, wasn't it? Knocked him out in a round. Before that was Jordan Thompson. So, and then Bradis again. So his last 4, obviously Bradis is a amazing champion. He's retired now. Obviously, he pushed Opataya far in both of the fights that they had, to be honest with you. Last time out, Opataya looked like he gassed a little bit on the...
sorry to stop you mid-floor. I rate Opataya, but I don't see what everybody else in the mainstream media sees from him. I don't think he's this once-in-a-generational talent. Obviously, his promoters have to say that, but I don't believe that they believe that. I've not seen anything that makes me think he's head and shoulders above everybody else in the weight division. I do believe that he's better than Jack Massey. I think, Jack Massey is a decent fighter, and, he could, in a different set of circumstances, potentially win a world title. I think he's just a level below sort of Opataya. I think Bill Smith, for example, would beat Opetaia. I'd like to see that fight. I expect him to come through at the weekend. As I said, I do think he's better than Massey. I just don't think he's as good as everybody's saying he is. Certainly not to go up to heavyweight and cause any problems.
That's where me and Jay slightly disagree. It was on one of our first shows. I made the very bold claim that for me, Opetaia becomes undisputed at cruiserweight and then goes on to hold a
2 fights away.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be honest.
No. My next point was
undisputed at cruiserweight, is it? I'm not diminishing that as an achievement, but what I'm saying, cruiserweight historically is one of the easier divisions to become world champion.
Yeah, and in this current crop, it isn't, you don't have Usyk, for example, anymore in this division. It is an easier division than it was 5-6 years ago. Yeah. And at that point, I do agree.
It's one of the weakest divisions in boxing. Let's just call it out for what it is.
Yeah, it always has been, because it's one of those weight divisions that, they're just not big enough to dominate a heavyweight. So they've done a sort of an in-betweener division as such. But Usyk's a once in a generational talent. He's an anomaly, so to speak. And I just believe if it had been slightly heavier, it would have always been a heavyweight. It's just the fact that he floats around 14, 15, that he can get down to cruiserweight, and he is that much better than everybody else. I believe Opetaia stops Massey late, sort of round 9. What's that say?
He's just saying that Jordan Thompson and Ellis Oro were completely overmatched, which they were.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lucas still thinks that Opetaia is the best cruiserweight in the world. I agree with Liam and Luke. I think he is the best cruiserweight in the world, but I don't really think that says much for what the division has at the minute.
I honestly, seriously, I'm not just saying this to be my usual against the grain. I think Chris Billam-Smith beats him.
Nah, Billam-Smith's there to be hit, I think.
I'll take that bet from anybody. I believe if those two fight, Chris Billam-Smith will beat him. I'm not saying he'll stop him. I think he'll beat him. I don't think Opetaia has been tested yet, if you can tell me otherwise.
To be fair, he has. Bradis has tested him, actually.
Yeah, Bradis. Where's Bradis now? Sat on the beach. He's about my age.
To be fair, they fought twice, and last time, I don't know if you watched the first Bradis fight in Australia. Yeah. It was an unbelievable fight, like a war. And to be honest with you, Bradis, his last stand before he retired last time out, Opetaia was battering him early on the Fury Usyk card, and Bradis just heart of a lion. We know he's never been stopped in his whole career. He's just an absolute beast. But he's definitely got a good check against Bradis in both fights, and he came through.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not for 1 second dismissing Jai Opetaia as dog shit. I'm not saying that. He's a world champion in his own right. He's defended his world title several times. And he's good. I just don't believe he's as good as everybody makes out.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He is made out to be the second coming. He is.
Exactly.
Yeah. We haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen it.
We haven't seen anything
to fight somebody that's, in the top 5 or 6 in the world, or another world champion that's under 40, not on his way out. I'd like to, like I say, I think Chris Billam-Smith is the fight. That's the fight.
It is a good fight. Luca and Pat have both said the same. Both think it's a cracking fight. They're just edging Jai Opetaia, and Opetaia would be a favourite in it. But Billam-Smith, don't get me wrong, the guy's tough as boots. Let's see how he gets on against Zerdo next month. Be an interesting fight. But Jack Massey, anyway, come off a big win against Isaac Chamberlain last time out to win the Commonwealth and European, I think it was, wasn't it? He's been in with Joseph Parker at heavyweight. He's never been stopped himself, but there is levels for me between Opetaia and Jack Massey. I'm interested, though. It's not a walkover. It's not an Ellis Oro or a Jordan Thompson without, being disrespectful to him. Jack Massey's a level above those guys. But then again, Opetaia folded the pair of them in a couple of rounds, or 1 round for Ellis Oro. So I don't know. Are we giving Massey any chance, Liam?
I'm not, no, which is a shame because he's coming off of, like we just said, a career best performance where he's now earned the right to be in this position. Unfortunately, and I mean, you're not going to turn down the call, A, from Turkey, and B, to fight the #1 cruiserweight in the world. But if there was a different world champion out there and he was given another chance of becoming a world champion, he'd probably have more of a chance in this division. Unfortunately, Saturday night, he's running into, whether he's proven it yet or not, the #1 cruiserweight in the division. The one that we know out of all the champions that has that stop you dead in your tracks power. Billum Smith doesn't have that. Zerdo hasn't shown it consistently. Opetaya, okay, against limited opposition, but we've seen him with one punch ice an opponent. If he does it against Jack Massey on Saturday night, it's more impressive than what he done against Ellis Zorro, what he done against Jordan Thompson, 100%. And that would be more of a statement for me. But the likelihood is it goes 7, 8, 9 rounds and Opetaya wears him down and gets a stoppage that way. The best fight to make in the division is Billum Smith and Opetaya. I 100% agree with you with that. And Shane McGuigan being with Billum Smith, that boxing brain with how Billum Smith responds to him gives him an outstanding chance in that fight. And if he's going to pull it off, then it's going to be massively to do with Shane McGuigan as well. But I just think Opetaya is a level above. He hasn't had to show it too much yet. But when he has to, when the pressure's on, when it matters, we'll see the level he's at. For Jack Massey, there's going to be no shame if he loses on Saturday night. He's going to come in, he's going to give it his all, he's going to give a good account of himself. He knows he's an underdog. Remember, when he took the fight against Chamberlain, he took it at 5 weeks' notice. No one gave him a chance. Chamberlain was getting a homecoming in his part of London, and this was supposed to be him propelling himself onto that stage. Massey completely tore up that script.
Yeah.
He will believe he can do it again, and he has complete faith in what he does as a boxer. It's just a step too far. Like I say, if this was him against Billum Smith or Zerdo, I would say he's got more of a chance of becoming a world champion. Opetaya is just that next step too far for me.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one, definitely. Pat said Zerdo's test for CBS. Yeah, that's going to be a good fight, that definitely. Yeah, I would have Jai just a tad above the other two at the moment, but the next year we're gonna get these fights. We're gonna find out who is the best cruiserweight. You're gonna see a unified champion in November between Zerdo and CBS. If Jai Opetaya comes through Massey this Saturday, you're probably going to get a 3-belt unification. The WBC champ's going to get paid off for a huge undisputed fight against the winner of that fight, and then you're going to probably get that towards the back end of next year, I would say. But anyway, moving on from Opetaya and Massey, we'll go to Mr. Chris Eubank Jr. against Kamil Szeremeta, the fight we all wanted, the people's main event.
Can I? No. I said everything I had to say on this on my show last night. If this fight was on their Copperbox card next weekend on your standard Sky Sports Saturday night fight night, I'd be more inclined to talk about it. I'd be more inclined to give it the time of day. The fact that this fight is being allowed to happen on a Riyadh season pay-per-view, on one of the biggest and best fights of boxing of the year, is really disappointing.
Do you know what? Sorry, I was going to say it's very disappointing from Turkey's end. The man who has unlimited resource, the man who's put Fury and Usyk together, the man who's put Beterbiev and Bivol together, and he's going to continue to put ridiculous fights on.
I think it's
how has he allowed you man to do that?
No,
you said why last night, mate.
Oh yeah, for the Ben fight. We know the Ben fight's coming. We know it's happening.
Yeah,
so if Eubank said he wants to have one,
they're just working with Eubank, and they're giving him a fight, knowing that he'll get a bigger fight for them further down the line. I believe that they're working on the Ben fight as the main event.
It's Ben in Riyadh next year. You can
say that. Listen, I would not be surprised if he fights Crawford at 160. I know that sounds mental, but I've got.
It doesn't sound mental. It doesn't sound that mental.
I think there's some crazy fight they're going to do with Eubank. If it's not Ben, I don't think it'll be Canelo, because I just don't think he's going to work with Turkey at this point. And I think it could be Crawford at 160.
Yeah, look.
Not 154, obviously, but 160 possibly. Just as I see as him bridging the gap for Crawford on his way up to 168 for the eventual Canelo fight, because I think that's where they're leading with this nonsense. That's not me wanting those. I don't want any of those fights that I've just mentioned. I don't believe in any of those fights that I've mentioned. I hate any of them fights that I've mentioned. But unfortunately, Turkey's got the door to make shit happen, and I believe that he sees that Eubank, is an interesting name, and I believe that would fight versus Crawford would certainly intrigue the casuals. So I think they'd sell a lot of pay-per-views. I mean, I'd watch it myself, but only to watch Crawford punch Eubank's head in. But yeah.
It's the one we all Luka Hrgovic Tomori, the second.
I swear to you now, I'm not joking, we'll be doing the live. If that fight is the core main event, I'm taking my dogs out. I'm not watching
No,
it.
it won't be. It won't be.
If that's the core main event, it's disgusting. That fight should not
Can't
be.
be. All the hype for Wardley and Clark.
Chapman and Sky Nicholson's fight should be higher than that. It's a world title fight. It should be low down.
Mate.
Well, yeah, it's an IBO world title, isn't it? So I forgot about that.
And 2 minutes for Eubank conversation without bringing the IBO up. We've done so well, lads.
Lucas Ceremetti did an interview in Polish previous being released saying he was retired. Yeah, Eubank's dragged him out of retirement.
But this is the
what
thing.
Is he the third best in Poland?
Poland, yeah. According to the box rec, third best.
There's only 20 middleweights in Poland, isn't there?
I think there's less than that. I saw something today, boys, and I put this question to both of you. Eubank Jr. is 35 years old now. Do we actually know, A, how good Chris Eubank Jr. is, and B, what his level is? Have we actually ever seen what level he's truly at because of what he does in his career?
Yeah. George Groves proved that. Billy Joe Saunders has shown it. He's a level below world class.
Yeah,
a level below world class. Potentially a couple of levels below. He has a good engine. He hits pretty hard. He's got a decent chin. It's very basic. Very, very basic. And his stubbornness to not listen and his ego is the reason why he hasn't evolved as a fighter and hasn't progressed through the levels and become a world champion. If he'd have been like his dad and listened, because as much as his dad came off like a prick, it was all an act. In the gym, he would listen to Ronnie, he would work, he would grind. How many trainers has Eubank had? He's had about 6 or 7 different trainers.
He doesn't need a trainer, he says.
Never does more than a couple of fights with him. Never changes his style. He's never, ever changed his style. He boxes the same now as the same as he did when he turned over, other than he doesn't try to emulate his father. So he doesn't do the pausing and the stopping. He does little bits of that, but not as much. He's one fighter that has been exactly the same from start to finish. You don't see many like that. They have traits that they'll show throughout their career, but they will evolve their game, especially if they go to different trainers. You'll see the influence of, an Adam Booth or a Shane McGuigan or a Joe Gallagher or people like that.
He doesn't stay anywhere long. He doesn't stay anywhere long enough though to allow a trainer.
He just don't listen. Yeah. And for that,
doesn't want to listen. He knows too much.
For that, the most consistent person. Go on, mate. Sorry, finish.
No,
the most consistent person in Chris Eubank Jr.'s corner is Ronnie Davis, and I'm not. He's the most consistent because he stayed through Adam Booth, through every single trainer that you.
Only as a bucket carrier.
Oh yeah, no. As the bucket carrier, but that says a lot when you've got someone with that experience that was there on the journey with your dad. That's the word. It's disrespectful for him to just be the bucket carrier or the one that stands there with the flipping when he had the Union Jack holding the Union Jack up, fanning in for a fight.
I feel bad for him.
I've been involved.
It's a waste of knowledge.
I've been involved in and around boxing for nearly 40 years. Well, it's about 40 years, believe it or not, people. But
look at David 21, mate.
Thank you, mate. And I've never ever felt like I feel about Chris Eubank Jr. I would be happy to see him get a hole punched in his face because I just think he's conned the living. He's conned the living. I don't wish no badness on him, and I don't mean that like I hope he gets hurt. But I wouldn't be upset if he got flatlined at the weekend because he's conned the living.
He's bringing the energy. He's bringing the energy. He ain't walking the dogs during that fight. He's rooting for Camille. He's all over. He's got his Poland t-shirt on.
As much as I do not like what Conor Benn has done, right? Conor Benn's about it. Conor Benn is about it. He will throw down. Chris Eubank Jr., I've had an interaction with Chris Eubank Jr. He probably will throw down as such, but he's manipulated the media. He's
an athlete. You called it, mate. He's an athlete.
He's an athlete. He can bang and he can take a punch, but because his pig-headedness that he thinks he's entitled, right, and he brands things to his own narrative, and a lot of the casuals are bought into it. People like us that we're bored of it now. We're bored of it now. You never fought Triple G. You lost your pen. You didn't rematch Billy Joe Saunders after he said you beat him or won the last 7 out of 6 or whatever nonsense you said, right? You're flattered to deceive, Junior. You are flattered to deceive. And for me, the highlight of your career is buying Grey Goose bottles with fireworks in them with an IBO belt around your waist.
Messing about in Las Vegas.
That is the pinnacle of your career.
Dan Bilzerian. We've got some comments coming in.
If he fights Canelo, Canelo will put him in a body bag.
Absolutely. Big up, Anna. Thanks for joining us, my friend. He agrees with Jay. So does Luca. We got some Jay's Fight Talk, real talk coming in. The chat's loving it. Anna said, watching the workout, yeah, I saw that myself. He's got the old typical Saudi dress up on as Chris Eubank Jr. Of course he has. Wayne Herman's here. Big up, Wayne. Hope you're well, mate. Main money. That's the main thing.
You say that, Wayne. Right. You say that, right? You say that. My brother was a professional boxer to a pretty decent level, right? Fought for a British title, won an English title, boxed on Vegas undercards, Ricky Hatton, etc., and he was an international amateur, right? When we used to pretend to be fighting for a world championship when we were kids with socks on our hands and orange quarters in our mouths as gum shields, right? We weren't doing that for dough. We were doing that for the green strap, right? That's what we were doing it for. And I'm telling you now, I know enough fighters and enough about fighting to know that the money, right, is a byproduct of the success. Fighters do not fight for money. Ultimately, they fight for legacy.
You know what? I completely agree.
Byproduct.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I'd say the higher up the levels they go, it feels like the less that they because they're set for life.
Obviously, you get to a certain level, and it becomes about. Obviously, you want to get as much as you can. I'm not saying that boxers would fight for nothing, but I'm telling you now that if we did a poll of professional fighters and we said, right, such and such has pulled out at the weekend, you can step in for the green, the red, the blue, the black, whatever world title, right? One of the prestigious four, allegedly. Right, the prestigious four, but we're only going to give you your expenses. I'm telling you now, not one of them would knock it back. Not one of them. I know what you mean. They would all take their gum shield and get on that plane. And that tells you that, yes, they're prize fighters, but the prize is legacy and money is a byproduct. And I'll stand on that.
Yeah, mate, and I agree with you. But this is the thing with Eubank Jr. He claims to be all about the world titles. He claims, this is what he claims. But then you look at what he's done in his career, the fights he's taken, the moves he's made, the things he's dodged out of the way of to miss so he doesn't take a hiding, etc., etc. It's not. He takes fights for money. He's taken this fight in Saudi. He must have the best relationship with the IBO out of any boxer in the world because he's managed to get a belt on the line for the third time with them. Two Division 3-time champion he's going to be potentially on Saturday night. But he also knows that he's getting filled in handsomely by Saudi for doing it. Would he get out of bed for this fight on... I know I said we'd prefer it if it was in the UK, but this fight in the UK, he wouldn't do it because he wouldn't get the
celebrity. Chris Eubank's about celebrity. That's what he's celebrity for him.
But I tell you this, I might miss, as you boys know, due to work commitments, I might miss the card on Saturday night. I tell you what, I don't give a about missing this fight because Eubank Jr. is boring to me now. I've watched enough of him over the last 7-8 years, all the false promises, all the second comings. For God's sake, you're 35 years old, still saying you're the next gen. Your time's gone, mate. I don't care about it anymore. It's either put up or shut up. Even if he was to beat, say, Lara for a world title, Lara's in a Zimmer frame in 5 years' time. It doesn't show anything. He needs to go and take on Carlos Adames, fight Hamza Shiraz when he picks up belts. That's how you prove you're a serious...
He turned down $5 million for Hamza Shiraz. He turned down $5 million because he said...
Because no one would know if he walked down the street.
Because he can make triple that in a few years' time, which for me is absolutely ridiculous. We're going to move on from Eubank in a sec once I've got through a few of these comments. Pat says Canelo versus Eubank. Canelo will destroy him. Hope it never happens. Yeah, I know what you mean. It'd be nice to see Canelo flatline him as well, though, to be fair, Pat. That's
he is. He really was.
The Canelo fight, Eubank, he fought enough Brits. Yeah, Canelo's destroyed plenty of Brits over the years for sure. Denzel Bentley would clean him out. I wouldn't mind seeing that one, Luca. I'll be completely honest. That punch he landed on Derek Azazi, the first ever watch along we did on the channel, that was brutal.
Troy Williamson versus Eubank Jr. for me. They've just been sparring.
Yeah, they're sparring partners, aren't they? Wayne says, here's what you're saying, mate. Just says that Eubank's only motivated by money. 100%, mate. Agree with that. Luca, he doesn't claim that Liam, he says, again, biggest fights. I can't stand the bloke, but he consistently says, yeah, I know what you mean. It is.
Well, give us the biggest fights and don't give us the third best fighter in Poland. He was retired after his draw at the start.
If it was about biggest fights, He would have rematched Billy Joe Saunders immediately, and then he would have found his pen because Triple G was ready to fight him. Remember, the only reason Kell Brook fought Triple G is because Spewbank spewed it. You spewed it, Junior. Come on here and tell us you didn't, because you can't, mate. You spewed it.
Ellis is winning a genuine world title would bring money afterwards. Yeah, Eubank Jr. should fight in the celeb zone. Yeah, he should go on to Misfits, definitely.
Yeah,
Mr. Neutral's joined us. Big up, Mr. Neutral. COVID not stopping me tuning in. Sorry to hear you got COVID, mate. I hope you get better soon. Not very nice, mate. I've had it twice myself.
COVID doesn't exist. I'm joking.
Couldn't taste food for about a week. Hang on a minute.
I had to say it.
Luca, it doesn't mean biggest fight. It means biggest money fight. Yeah, exactly. That's all he cares about, man. McGregor versus McCann, Mr. Neutral, absolute cracker, mate. I'm pleased for it, but as we get into that card a little bit later on, I'll give my thoughts on what I think about the location of some of the undercard fights. I'll leave it at that. I don't believe it should be on that card. It should be headlining in Liverpool. Pete McGrail's from Liverpool. Dennis McCann, I believe, trains with Joe McNally in Liverpool, does he?
Yeah.
Doing Liverpool? Sell the hell out of the Echo Arena.
Dennis McCann lives wherever he wants.
Exactly. But yeah, for me, Neutral, cracking fight, mate. For me, that and the Boachuk Madrimov fight, which is an absolute belter. Those are the standouts of that Usyk Fury 2. Nearly said Fury Usyk, but I was annoyed about that too. It's Usyk versus Fury 2. It's not Fury versus Usyk 2. They corrected it though, didn't they?
Yeah, Turkey put out a new poster this morning.
Yeah.
I've got an opinion on that as well, so I'm going to keep my powder dry for later on that. For after we've waxed lyrical about the two fights left on this card on Saturday night.
Yeah, definitely. We're moving to Wardley Clark now, and we'll cover all our Fury Usyk undercard announcement after this for sure. At least 4 headliners taken. Yeah, exactly. The Copper Bosch, Neutral, all of that.
Sorry, what did it, just going back? What was our predictions for Eubank? We didn't do a prediction.
I think it went on points. I think Zerameta will survive.
I said TKO 7.
I think it'd be the worst fight in history. I really do. I think
you'll have to watch Liam's fight night picks to find out what Liam thinks.
I know. I said stoppage in the first 6 rounds, but that's more out of hope that he's going to come and put on a performance rather than expectance.
I won't see it. I'll be out walking my dogs.
No, you won't.
Sam will be on his own for a bit.
I'll be on here.
Wardley versus Clark. Now let's go on to the 2 fights that are actually unbelievable. Yeah, Neutral, I agree. Eubank, I don't care how yet. Completely agree with you. Fabio Wardley, Fraser Clark, March 31st, the O2 Arena. We witnessed a heavyweight slugfest. Unbelievable. Clark on the deck. Wardley's nose was gone. Fraser struggled definitely with his cardio in that fight as well. Fabio couldn't breathe for most of it, but it worked. The styles gelled. Both men showed tremendous heart. It was an absolute war. I'm going to ask you both a question because this happens in rematches a lot. We see either 2 things. We're either going to get round for 13 of Wardley Clark, or we're going to get both men have seen each other now. They know what each other do well. They know what each other do badly. Fraser's going to try and box him. You know, what's going to happen, Jay? Is it round 13 or is it going to be a tactical affair?
Mixture of both, I think.
Love that. Jay's doing the same.
Mixture of both without flip-flopping. I think it's gonna start very, very cagey. I think Wardley can fight, and I think Fraser can box. We know that. And I think Fraser got drawn into a bit of a scrap and became very ragged. I do believe that Fraser Clark had a few more gears to go through, and I think he held back a little bit. The knockdown.
He hasn't done it, and he hasn't done the distance. Well, he'd done the distance against Marius Wack.
Not like that.
It was only a tick around the Wack.
Yeah, you're right.
The knockdown took a little bit of something from his legs, but I believe this time he's going to show us why he was an Olympic. Silver, bronze,
I think.
Bronze. I mean, either way, he medalled at an Olympics, and to medal at an Olympic or Commonwealth Games is a massive achievement. And I think we're going to see Clark put it on him, box behind the jab, but start to catch him with the overhand right. I think he's going to frustrate Wardley, and I see Clark getting him out of there late.
Do you know what? I think Fraser wins the decision, but I would not be surprised at all if he gets him out of there. I completely think Fraser Clark's going to have learned way more from the fight. I watched the gloves off the other day. I don't know if any of you have watched it, but Fabio's basically sat right in front of Fraser Clark, and he's like, I don't need to do anything different against you. I'm going to come and do exactly the same thing. And Fraser looked in stone. It was a great gloves are off. I'm not a big fan of them. There's too many of them now, but it was a really good, both men really focused, dialed in on each other. And Fraser just looks straight at him, and you can tell he genuinely believes this and he means it. And he's like, if you do the same thing, I'm going to run rings around you. You've got no chance. I'm going to do that. Exactly. Fraser's like, I'm going to change what I did because I made loads of mistakes in that first fight. And he's like, so did you. But if you don't realize that and you think that you can do the same thing against me,
he don't believe that. He can't, Sam. Wardley's not that stupid to believe that he can go in there, not change anything, and come out with a victory. Because Clark's seen too much now. He knows how hard he is. He knows how strong he is. He knows what kind of angles and distance he needs. The thing what I think is going to be the advantage for Fraser is the fact that he is an elite amateur, and Wardley had a handful of white-collar fights. I'm not dismissing that as not, an apprenticeship as such, but his skill level, in terms of skill, as boxers, Clark's up there for me. Now, Wardley bridged the gap by pure muscle and grit and determination, but I don't think Clark's going to get drawn into that this time. I think he's going to box clever, and if he does, I think it's I'm not going to say an easy night for him, but easier than we anticipate. I think that. Obviously, Liam disagrees. I can see him going bright red and steam coming out his ears. Because the tractor boys are in.
Neutrals on Fraser. Anything Wardley late stoppage. So probably a good time to go to Liam because we're probably going to back Enner up here.
This is my prediction. I do think it will be a Wardley late stoppage. First of all, watch that. Gloves are off. Gloves are off are fantastic when they're with. That's Norfolk, mate. That is the wrong county.
Norfolk, come on. Stop it.
No, like I said, Wardley doesn't believe that he's going to go. He can fight the same way as he did in March. He's saying that for whatever reason, but he won't come the same game plan. The big question is, how quickly does Fabio Wardley's nose go again? Because it will go again. Because it's similar to Brian Rose, back when Brian Rose fought. That scar tissue on the nose, once it takes a few punches,
it's gone. As soon as Fraser lands a jab, his nose is gone.
It's gone. How does he deal with that this time? What lessons has he learned from how Fraser performs last time? And does he back himself more as well? When he had, I said to Jay last night, when he dropped Fraser at the end of round 5, Fraser wasn't all there for the first half of the 6th round. Fabio held back. He didn't go looking for that finishing shot that we've seen him do against the likes of Nathan Gorman and other opponents on his way up before this fight. He has to back himself more in this fight. It's a fantastic fight. If it's a boxing match, Fraser Clark wins on points. I am happy to say that. Hurts me to say it.
Don't lie.
It hurts me to say it, but I'm happy. I would admit it.
We do not lie on this pod. And Liam has just barefaced lied. He would not be happy at all.
Okay, I'm big enough to admit that Clark wins if it's a boxing match on points. If it becomes a brawl and a fight, Fabio Wardley will wear him down and get the stoppage between 7 and 9, and that's my prediction for this.
I think Fraser showed a lot of heart in that first fight.
He did.
A brawl and a fight as well. I wouldn't rule out Fraser being a factor if it did. Obviously, it would favour Fabio Wardley. You would say he's definitely the bigger puncher. That's his kind of style of fighting. He's come from that white-collar background, and Fraser's a very decorated amateur, So, as you look at it from the outside looking in, the boxing match should favour Fraser. The fight should favour Fabio. But, don't be surprised if Fraser's down for a bit of fighting as well. They're
both. He'll fight. He will fight. He'll fight fire with fire. But I just think he will have taken from that first fight from Fabio's style, and there's nothing wrong with that. That if he can stay on the back foot, keep the fight at range, not allow Fabio to plant his feet and get his shots off, he can make it a relatively easy night for himself, Fraser. And look, we don't want to see a boring fight, and there's no way it's going to be a boring fight. But if it is a boring fight, it's because that's what Fraser chooses to do. He chooses to keep it long. He chooses to keep it at range. But there's no way that it's not going to be a tear-up at some point. Fraser might be 4 or 5 rounds on the scorecards, and then it becomes a tear-up.
I think Fraser will choose as and when to fight. whereas Wardley will follow him round trying to catch him, similar to the first fight. I think
stalk his throat.
Clark's got the ability to manipulate the feet, his movement. He can keep himself in the centre and then just be out. He's slightly longer as well. But I think he'll fight with him in bursts when he decides to. So maybe Wardley will put the pressure on him, throw a few bursts. Clark will then find his range. Then when Wardley backs off for maybe a rest and a breather, that's when I think Clark will put it on him. That's why I see him stopping him late.
Yeah, and I know where you're coming from. I think, sorry, Liam, just to cover Luca's point, because it's made me think of something. He's right about Fraser. So Ben Shalom and Boxer matched him so poorly. Laboured against Dave Allen to whatever it was. Laboured against Marius Wack. You know, look at what Moses Atama did to Marius Wack. That's what you do to a 50-year-old Marius Wack. When you shouldn't be in the ring.
I think it's confidence.
Exactly. And now look what happens on Saturday. This is where I'm putting my neck out in the line. But look what happens now. He's had them 12 rounds with Fabio. Yeah. Look and see what he takes from that, because I think he's going to take a hell of a lot more from it than Fabio Wardley did. That's my opinion on the fight.
It will. I asked
one hell of a beating, Liam.
Jason Mundy. I asked this question to Jay the other night, mate. I'll ask it to you, Sam, as well. So, Fraser's last 2 fights now, he's had issues with low blows. He's had point deductions against Dave Allen and Fabio for low blows. And it's not just he's doing it once in a fight. It seems to be a repeated pattern for him. Does he have an issue with that in terms of, does he fall in and he can't find his range and he ends up going low, or is that just laziness, so to speak? He's sort of catching himself off guard. Is that a genuine issue for him in this fight?
Like Mr. Neutral said, I don't think his conditioning's been the best going forward. You know, you look at him, I know he's not aesthetically, ever going to look like AJ or, Daniel Dubois or the people that are absolutely shredded at heavyweight. But I think he said himself that he gassed badly in the first fight. So, he'd never been 12 before, if I was right. Before that, you said Wack was a 10-rounder. So again,
so it was his first
Fabio had never been 12 either, I don't think, because he'd knocked everybody out. So, both men kind of going that distance for the first time. They've seen each other now. I don't know, to answer your question, if that's a massive factor or not, to be honest. But, it could be.
It's not like he's just done it in one fight.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's a consistent.
And I want to see. I hope it's a strong ref on Saturday, because like this comment here from Undisputed Fight Talk.
Big up David Corner. Thanks for tuning in, my friend. Hope you're well.
If Clark's got anything about him, he will target the nose with his head, with forearms, etc., etc. And you're going to need
that scarf.
It would open, but it wouldn't surprise me if his corner tell him to, if that makes sense. They tell him to have a look.
Rough him up as much as you can.
Rough him up, yeah. But what you want is a strong referee in there, because the last thing we want is that nose to open that badly that an overexcited doctor pulls the fight before 4 rounds and we're sitting talking about a technical draw. Yeah, that is like. That's like pissing on your cornflakes on a Sunday morning.
Interesting, really interesting. We're divided on here. The chat's very divided on that Wardley Clark fight, but that's what happens when you put 50-50 fights on.
Yeah,
I know this fight, again, like we talk about, it's a British title fight happening in Saudi, but at the end of the day, we all know this fight wouldn't have happened. The money wasn't there for it to happen in the UK. So, and on this occasion, unlike when we talk about the Fury Usyk undercard, I'm happy enough to acknowledge the fact that I'm happy enough for this fight to be in Saudi. But we'll move on to.
For me, definitely target the nose, won't it? Yeah. They've used the old Liam Smith.
Oh, junior job. Yeah, definitely. Right, boys. 175 pounds undisputed.
Oh, my gosh.
Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol. 2 of the best trash talkers in boxing. They won't leave each other alone.
Did you see the face-off? Why were they sat so close to each other? It was weird.
Yeah. See it? No, to be honest with you, I never watched theirs because I didn't think it'd be worth watching because none of them talk.
Neither of them, they're just respectful, but
Beterbiev says 2 words.
It's weird. Well, Eddie Hearn got pissed off with it, didn't he? And said
he said he called him arrogant.
Fuck off, man. Why? What's he need to talk for? The fight sold itself.
He's like Drago, isn't he, from Rocky? He doesn't need to talk. I'll just knock him out and just give me the next one.
Pay-per-views. Listen. If Bivol stuck the head on him, called him this and slept with his wife, it won't sell any more pay-per-views. This will sell. couple of 100,000 pay-per-views regardless. I think we might do 250, 300,000 pay-per-views. I don't think it'll do many more than that. I don't.
It's for the purists. That's why they put Eubank on the card. That's why they put Ben Whittaker on the card. They're smart that way. They're putting people on the card that bulk that out. But anyway, we're not talking about Eubank and Ben. We're talking about Bivol and Beterbiev. We're going to have a good debate about this because I'm set in where I'm at. I know exactly where my pick's coming. It's exactly opposite to that man down there. Come on, hit me up. Beterbiev is going to stop Bivol from down on the cards in the 10th round. I'm going to call. And by the way, I called Nick Ball to stop Ronnie Rios in the 10th round last week. So I'm on a roll of 10th round stoppages.
You are.
You want to go first, mate, or shall I?
I'll go first. I think you've all got sucked in, right, to this Beterbiev hype. He's 20 knockouts. He's, unbeatable, unbreakable. Have you seen Bivol box off the back foot? He's as good going backwards as he is going forwards, right? What does Beterbiev do? Pushes you back, sits on your chest, right? What happens when someone throws back when he's going forward? He gets wobbled. We've seen it 3 or 4 times. He's been flatlined in amateurs. He's been Callum Johnson knocked him down after he just knocked him down, right?
Johnson hurt him bad.
He's a concussive puncher, but I believe that Bivol has the better boxing skill. I think he's younger and he's younger. He's fresher. He's not coming off a terrible injury. I think footwork will be key. I think Bivol is going to move him around so much so that he's going to have an issue with his leg at some stage. I think he's going to have an issue with his shoulder at some stage. And I believe that Beterbiev will win 2 of the first 10 rounds and will get pulled out 10th or 11th round.
Pat agrees with you, younger and a bit more edge. That's pretty much what you said there. You think Bivol's going to stop at the corner and going to pull him out?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a TKO, either a doctor stoppage or a corner stoppage.
Liam?
I'm in agreement with Jay in the sense I think Bivol's going to win this fight. And I've got a couple of reasons for it. He's a younger fighter. He's the more polished boxer. Yes, but the other thing in this fight, this is the first time since he beat Joe Smith Jr. to win the WBO belt as well that he's fought more than once in a year. And he hasn't been fighting only once a year because the fights haven't materialized for him. He's been fighting once a year because he's constantly getting injured. He is now a 39-year-old man that pulled out of the fight on June the 1st because he had a meniscus tear. He's had the surgery, the meniscus is repaired. I tore my meniscus 7 years ago, had the operation, and it was a long road to come back. And I was 18, 19.
To get your point off, Liam. But a lot of people are banking on this Beterbiev injury. What if the injury is not a factor? What happens then? What if he doesn't hurt his leg? What if the meniscus is fine? What happens then? Does he still?
Then he just gets his head punched in for 12 rounds.
Then he's chasing shadows. Bivol's boxing IQ is still underrated.
I do not believe that he's going to go 36 minutes without being hit square on his chin by Beterbiev. He's a much better boxer than people give him credit for.
And if he does get hit, Bivol will have to go down and go again.
No one at 175 is taking Beterbiev's power. I'm sorry, they're not. It's been seen. Alexander Vosdik was an unbelievable win when that happened at the time. Obviously, he'd just been in with Benavidez after 4 years of retirement and given him a decent fight. Vosdik and he had some really bad injuries after that Beterbiev fight. Yes, he's more vulnerable, and Bivol is going to be outpointing him throughout the fight. Do not get me wrong. 1 round will go, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, whatever it is. I fully anticipate Bivol to be ahead in the fight, but that moment's going to come at some point during 36 minutes. Beterbiev's going to hit Bivol clean on the chin, and he's either going to take it, and then I'm going to go, right, I was wrong, or he's going to be flatlined, and that's the fascinating thing about the fight. We don't know the answer. We're speculating, we're having a laugh about a debate over it, but we don't know. But that's why we're tuning in. That's what we need to see. We need to know.
And mate, I completely agree with you. If Beterbiev lands, how Bivol reacts, if he's flatlined or if he can bounce back, is a fascinating part of the fight.
Yeah.
But let's have a conversation about Bivol for a moment. We said it during the week privately and talking on some of our other preview shows. And a lot of people still say that the night Bivol beat Canelo Alvarez, he was lucky. Let's think about that for a second. That was a schooling from Dmitry Bivol that night. It doesn't matter that one of the judges tried to beat him. Exactly. But that was because of his boxing IQ. That was because he was able to get himself into range and then not get hit. I just think he's going to be too... Jay, for you, mate, he's going to be too cute for Beterbiev. He's going to be too cute. He's going to get into range. He's going to leave Beterbiev chasing shadows. I'm not saying he's going to go 36 minutes without being hit. That's not what I'm saying, and I don't think that's what Jay's saying either. But his higher level boxing IQ, for me, is what's going to see him through the fight. I think it will be on point. I'm not going to...
It's going to be hard for him to stop Beterbiev, I think. Big up Hawkan, by the way. Thanks for joining us, Hawkan. He's got one judge having it a draw. Bivol on the other two.
I do not believe that this fight is going to be as close as we all expected it to be, or you lot all expected it to be.
But I'm in agreement with you both that way. I am in agreement with you the fact that Bivol will box his head off for a large portion of that fight. But I just think he'll get clipped. Yeah, that's
I think he'll take it, me. I don't think he'll get caught clean. I just think he's too clever. I think he's too clever. I don't think he'll get tired. I think he'll box at his pace. Because he can move backwards. He's good at creating spaces. He can pivot off. I just think he's too clever. I don't mean that as in Beterbiev hasn't got a decent ring IQ, because he has. Excuse me, but he does get through a lot of fights on raw power. You know, there's a lot of fights that he's been sort of not losing, but it's been a lot closer than.
Well, yeah, you look at the Yard fights, the big one, isn't it? You know, that was a proper fight, and Yard was in that one. You know, he battered
what's Bivol's boxing skills compared to Anthony Bloody Lions in the fridge?
Light.
I've just realised, by the way, so DJ Pat's given Bivol UD, Hawkan's given Bivol, you two have given Bivol. I need some back in here. It's 4 against 1 so far. There we go. Enna's just in the nick of time. I love it. Beterbiev late stoppage. If it goes the distance, Bivol. Yeah, that's pretty much how. If it goes to the cards, I do not believe Beterbiev will win.
So Enna's basically said that one of them's going to win it. Basically, yeah.
Well, are you picturing a similar fight to how the first Wilder Fury fight is? Fury boxes well, so Bivol in this scenario boxes well. He's winning the fight on the judges' scorecard, but at some point that dynamite power is just going to clip it. Is that avenue you're going down?
Yeah, so Fury clearly was winning the rounds, wasn't he? But in round 9 and obviously round 12. He got badly hurt, and it ended up being a draw, which you never know. You could see something like that. Beterbiev might have him on the deck a few times, but Bivol might be winning all the rounds. You just don't know. I think Dmitry Bivol's going to be on the canvas for the first time in his career on Saturday night, regardless of whether he wins a decision, whether I believe that Beterbiev is going to have him on the deck. But I know what you mean. I had this issue when Fury fought Usyk. I picked Tyson Fury to win the fight, but all week and ever since the fight was announced, in my head, I just couldn't picture Usyk ever losing a fight. It just felt like that. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't feel like I can ever see Dmitry Bivol losing a fight as well in my head, but I'm sticking to my guns. I went for Fury to stop Usyk. I'm going for Beterbiev to stop Bivol. That means put your life savings on Dmitry Bivol to beat Artur.
I like that. Sound effects by Jay's fight too.
I'm backing Beterbiev, just qualifying my prediction. Yeah, all good with that, and a good man. Beterbiev late rounds KO for
that's what's
going to happen.
Wayne's going to rise up like the Undertaker. Beterbiev's not stopping Bivol. It's not happening. It's not happening. Worst case scenario, he gets robbed and they make it a draw, and
we have to see it again. It's a fascinating fight, and it is a genuine, it's not a genuine 50-50 to Jay, and I probably don't have it as a 50-50, but to a lot of people in the trade, when you hear predictions that are coming from people within boxing, either they can't pick a winner or it is so close that it is 50-50. And it is a fight, it has the potential to be a fight like that. I just think it's a couple of years and a couple of injuries too far along for Beterbiev. Now, I'm not comparing it to Mayweather and Pacquiao, saying we're getting it 6-7 years too late. It's not to that extent, but I do think that Bivol's body has broken down too many times. I'm not saying it's going to break down him on Saturday night, but I just think it's going to be a factor. Wear and tear, miles on the clock against the younger, fresher man in Dmitry Bivol are going to be factors in this fight.
Yeah.
There's so many different variables. Enna's right. It could be a high-class fight of the year. It could be one of them style ones. Like maybe it might not be, 17 knockdowns in the fight, one of those fight of the years, but it might just be one of them that just sneaks up on you where it's just you're on the edge of your seat throughout the whole fight, which you're going to be, aren't you, to be honest? You're going to be on the edge of your seat. You're going to be probably watching Bivol clock up the rounds. Beterbiev will probably be competitive in them, but you're just waiting, similar to Deontay Wilder fights and all the rest of it, You're just waiting. Is he gonna? And he's not like Deontay Wilder. I don't want to make that comparison. Beterbiev can box, and people are dismissing that. I'm not saying anyone like we're dismissing it or anything, but people are dismissing that. Some people are billing it as a slugger versus a boxer, which it's actually definitely not. Bivol is a better boxer than Beterbiev. That's quite clear to see. But to just think that Beterbiev's just a gunslinger and he's just all his game plan's going to be to try and take Bivol's head off and chase him around the ring. It's disrespectful to Beterbiev, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know.
Look, it's a fantastic fight, and the fact that the comments are so divided, the fact that we're so divided, this is what we want from boxing. No one wants to watch red corner beats blue corner in all 11 fights on the card every single weekend. That's not what boxing is about. This is the pinnacle of the sport. This is two of the top 5 potentially pound-for-pound fighters going at it to claim all the marbles at 175. It's what the sport's been missing from so long. There hasn't been a unified and undisputed champion since Roy Jones at this weight class. That's how long it's been. And that was back in the free belt era. You didn't have the WBO recognised as one of the main bodies at that point. So it's fantastic. It's what we want to see. And look, we'll sit here on Sundays do a review show, and everything we said may well have happened during the fight, and then we see what the result is. That's the reality. Everything we said could happen. Beterbiev could break down. He could be pulled out late in the fight. Bivol could put on a masterclass and school him and win it quite wide on points. Beterbiev could be down on the cards and then allowing the howitzer that absolutely finishes the fight out of nowhere that no one's expecting. They are all such plausible possibilities, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's a red corner beats blue corner is Eddie Hearn's card. Before we move on to the undercard on December the 21st, which is the next portal call, because I had a few comments about that. As always, I'm going to ask you both a question for the bigger cards anyway that are deep like this one. We have plenty of cards. I want fight of the night prediction and I want upset of the night prediction from both of you.
Upset of the night, Raven Chapman knocking out Sky Nicholson. Fight of the night, Wardley Clark.
Fight of the night.
Thanks for that reaction, boys. I'm obviously blowing you off your fucking seat there. Sam nearly fell asleep. But cheers, boys.
Do you know what it was? I started thinking about what I was going to say.
Yeah, no, I was doing the same.
Fight of the night. Then,
yeah, just silence. Tumble, that Homer Simpson meme where he just backs into the bush.
Yeah.
That's going to translate perfectly on Spotify. That 20 seconds, boys. That's going to be gold. Fight of the night, taking out the main event. If we look at the rest of the card, fight of the night, I will go with Wardley Clark as well, because it can't be anything but a war. Yeah. Upset. Although I picked Sky, the most plausible chance of an upset on the card for me is Raven Chapman's getting a points decision. She won't stop Sky, points decision. So I'm going to go with that as well. I can't see it happening, but it's the most plausible one. Because realistically, Sarah Meta's not got a chance in hell against Eubank Jr.
That's the one.
Massey's a level.
Massey getting a random knockout.
Wow.
If Oppenheimer is a level down from where he has been, then it's Massey's fight. But if you go off what you think, go on, Sam, take it away, mate.
Go on, Sam.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at a few of the comments in the chat. So Enna's fight of the night, Beterbiev. I agree. I think Bivol Beterbiev is going to be the fight of the night. I do. I think we're going to get a classic in there.
Bivol Bev. Did you just say that?
Bivol Bev. Artur Beterbiev. Yeah. No, I was laughing. I agree with Pat. I don't see a KO in that one. They got 3 KOs between them in 20-odd fights, Raven and Sky. I
don't laughed at me when I said Dubois would
yeah, and Daniel Dubois punches like an absolute rocket.
Here we go. Come on, Raven.
They're coming out with the Antonio Margarito gloves in Riyadh, for God's sake. Oh, right. Yeah, I think Bivol Beterbiev will be fight of the night. I think biggest chance for upset of the night, Liam Cameron possibly against Ben Whittaker. But
so there could be a couple of shots on that card.
Yeah, no, there's potential. There is potential. I don't see, and even though I'm picking Raven, I actually don't think that's that much of an upset. If you get what I mean, technically it is, but
they're very similar records.
Yeah,
I know Sky's got a more established amateur record, but there's only 3 fights in between. I think Sky's at 10 or 11, and I think Raven's at 8. So there's not a massive difference. It's not like Sky Nicholson's this long reigning multiple defense world champion.
Yeah, I agree.
New world champion, and she's fighting somebody that's on her level. I know we haven't seen Raven box at this level, but yeah, for me, it wouldn't be that much of an upset. But as you say, it could happen. Yeah, I agree. Liam Cameron.
Liam Cameron's going to come in and chin Beterbiev. Oh, I love it. I love it. Right, yeah, we'll move on then to hang on, Pat's got one more. Sky working behind the jab. Raven will have a hard time to get into range. Yeah,
what I said earlier.
Right, Usyk versus Fury rematch happening on December the 21st. Last night, as he always does, he seems to love a good Tuesday turkey, doesn't he? He knows that we've got no punches pulled on Wednesday. He knows that the boys need talking points for the show, so he goes and announces it. He did it with a Golden Boy card, didn't he? He did it with was it this card actually, wasn't it?
This card
debut show, yeah.
But did he not say that this card was going to be the best of them all?
Yeah, so he did say, Enna's right. I'm disappointed as well with this one, mate. So I'm not disappointed in the sense of we've been served many worse on the cards than this during our time. And before anyone jumps in, I know that the budget's been blown on Fury and Usyk. I know that it's not undisputed, but it's 3 belts, and it's a huge fight. Don't get me wrong. The fight doesn't need an undercard. Floyd and Manny didn't have an undercard. All the top fights that have ever been don't really have undercards. But we were sold to the fact that this was going to be the best Riyadh season card of the year. It's going to be a super event. It's going to be all sorts going on. We've had hints from huge heavyweights over the months that they're going to be involved in it. And we're staring down the barrel of, I love the Chief support, by the way. I love it. Boachuk against Madrimov. It's an unbelievable fight. It's guaranteed probably fight of the night outside of Usyk Fury if it delivers like it did the first time. But I just think that overall, and like I was chatting to Mr. Neutral about earlier, it's like these fights, like they're UK headliners, a lot of them. I don't know why they're on this card. Like Johnny Fish has been built so well in the copper box. He's selling out left, right, and center. I really don't know why he's been put on a Saudi card against Dave Allen. Like, I really don't understand that fight. Moses and Dempsey McKinney, I can maybe understand that one a little bit more. McCann and McGrail, I'm like, why on earth is that in Saudi on December the 21st? Like, why do that? That should have been, if anything, I could excuse that one being in Riyadh further if they put it on this 5v5 that's going to happen in February, because there's a reason for that. It's a 5v5. It's Matchroom versus Queensbury.
I think they just needed a couple of decent fights on there. If you hadn't have had that on there, it's absolute red versus blue.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got Boachuk, Madrimov, and then they're the 50-50s, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, they're not really 50. Well, Boachuk, but Madrimov will be favourite against Boachuk, but
yeah, I think Madrimov.
Good fight though. Boachuk's game is ending.
60-40, but let's be honest, it's a dog shit card really for the way it was built up.
That's it. It's a good card, but it's a dog shit card for what we were sold.
But
and
what it was, I'm not saying it's a dog shit card. I meant for what they led us to believe was coming. I were thinking all sorts, mate. I swear, I had some mad fights, some mad matchups in my head. I thought, they're going to bring all the people out of the woodwork. Dave Allen. Dave Allen
on Riyadh season. I mean listen, that wasn't on my bingo card this year.
God bless Dave Allen, right? Because he has been, I'm not going to say robbing a living for the past 10 years, but he's had some fights that he just didn't deserve. The guy doesn't train right. He doesn't live the life, but he's honest about it. Do you know, with the right guidance and training, he could have been so much better than he has been. What I don't like to see now is him getting dragged out to Saudi to get beaten up by Johnny Fisher, because that's what they're doing. They're not expecting Dave Allen to win. They've just brought him as a name.
Johnny Fisher will run through Dave Allen.
He's the easiest name for Johnny Fisher because Johnny Fisher's not that good, is he? You know, Johnny Fisher is domestic.
He's just very green, isn't he?
He just hits hard. As soon as he can get somebody that can mix it with him, he'll get found out. He's not that good. He won't win, you know, he could win a world title because anything could happen, but he's not going to dominate. I think I would have preferred to have seen Moses versus Johnny. Just put two prospects up against each other. That would have been the fight. Yeah.
I slept on it last night before I spoke about it too much because as we saw around 10 o'clock, the card came out and X went boom. Everyone was throwing an opinion in. You had people like Sam Jones, who's got a horse on the card, saying, "What is everyone talking about? Slagging this card off."
Sam Jones is waffling. I'm sorry, he was waffling.
He's waffling because he's got to market his fights with Johnny Fisher. I slept on it, looked at it again this morning, and the first thing I done was go, really? Like, look, and we sound ungrateful and greedy because of what we've been served up by Riyadh season.
Yeah,
and I'll openly...
but why did they build it up? Like, why all Turkey had to say is, we're going to release the undercard tomorrow. I mean, it's got Isaac Lowe on it for God's sake.
No, I've watched interviews with Eddie Hearn saying, you wait till you see this December the 21st on the card. It's going to be an absolute game changer. There's me thinking Martin Bakole versus Cabiel, Joseph Parker against Jan. You know, that's what I'm thinking.
We got told that this card was going to rival the Day of Reckoning card that we got December last year.
No, I said it was the bet. It would be the best.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The best. So it's just not. Isaac Lowe, I know he's family with Tyson Fury, but what photos or what crap does he have on Tyson Fury that it doesn't matter what he does, he keeps getting put on these cards? Lee McGregor's going to smash Isaac Lowe's face in. He can't type on social media as it is. He may have a bit more trouble after the Lee McGregor.
Are you mocking his grammar and spelling?
That is the reality of what we're at. Isaac Lowe, look, family's family, and Tyson looks after his family. That's fine.
Knows enough about boxing that he's been battered every time he's fought on his undercards, hasn't he?
That's what I mean. There's a line.
Cleaned him out of Wembley, didn't he, on the Dillian White?
There's a line you've got to draw at some point, and seeing Isaac Lowe on this card again is just like flipping hell. Really, here we go again. You're putting him in with Lee McGregor. Lee McGregor for me schools him. Dennis McCann and Peter McGrail is absolutely outstanding fight. It's for British Commonwealth European straps. Fantastic. You're going to find out who the best in Britain is at this stage. And they're still relatively young in their careers. However, you've robbed your first UK fight night card, be it DAZN do it or TNT do it, of 2025. Your first arena that you could sell out at 10, 11,000 seater arena quite happily with that fight as your main event. You're putting it out in Saudi. Johnny Fisher, Dave Allen.
Rubbish.
I'm in the same camp as you. Dave Allen, when he came back for the Fraser Clark fight, he worked with Jeremy Moore and Nigel Travis, and he said, look, I've taken it seriously this time, blah-de-blah-de-blah, and we got, unfortunately, what we've become accustomed to with Dave Allen over the years when he's been given these opportunities. Now he's getting wheeled out to Saudi to take on Johnny Fisher. This should have been at the Copper Box. Johnny Fisher is building a lovely platform in the UK. Allow him to stay at the Copper Box. Allow him to have that opportunity. Get 7,000 Essex people inside the Copper Box having it off and watch him do his job in 2 rounds. That's far more beneficial to his career.
I'd have been happy if that happened in the Copper Box, you know, Fisher against Allen, because Dave Allen's popular. You know, that could have been a good little main event. You could build a good trade card around.
Again, that's my point. Moses Atalma, I'm not too mad about Moses being out in Saudi because he is a future superstar. And the reality is, it doesn't matter where you put Moses, there's going to be eyeballs on him because he's propelling himself in a direction that...
McKean's a good fight for Moses. I've no issue with that fight.
I've got no issue for it. My only issue is I didn't realise till I looked earlier, McKean's not fought since the Filip Hrgovic fight on the AJ Helenius undercard. He's not had a fight since. So he's coming off the back of his first loss into that. The co-main, I flipping loved the co-main. I love that Madrimov is getting another chance straight off the back of Crawford. I love that he's taking this level of fight. That is a very, very good fight to have on a card like this. And the main event sells itself. But on the whole, you promise us the world. You say it's going to leave everyone's jaws on the floor. Easy for me to say. But in reality, you've made us go, right, at what point do we want to be turning on the card? What are we happy to miss out?
Disappointed for the first time ever with Riyadh season. You know, I'd go so far as to say I'm disappointed. The card is okay, but it was built to be something it's not. If we're honest, compared to what we were led to believe it were going to be, it's very anticlimactic. Very anticlimactic. I mean,
Yeah,
do we tune in?
I'll just get through a few comments here, boys. Sorry.
I do wonder if we've got one more fight to be announced. I do wonder.
Yeah, I'd say there will be. Big fight. I agree with that, Pat. At least it's a card before Christmas that we can all watch. Yeah, Anna said Chief support excellent, but it should be in the M&S bank. Agree with that. Lucas said Johnny Fisher makes no sense. Eddie's best UK tickets. A matchroom in the UK at the moment is a sinking ship. I don't care what anybody says. They're not delivering in the UK. Fisher gets money and Eddie won't. Yeah, I know what you mean, Pat, about that. I think it's a strange move personally, but at the end of the day, Eddie's chasing the money.
Allen isn't the right fight to be moving around to Saudi for. If you're talking about putting him in against a fringe world level contender,
put Bakole Caballel on that card and make it better for me.
Oh, if Bakole and Caballel's on that card, I'd be singing its praises, even if the rest of them were on there. If I had Bakole Caballel on there, I'd have been buzzing with it. Yeah,
I would have even watched Yang Parker. I would have watched that.
I think Jan Parker's going to be the fight. They still announced for it. I think they're still going, from an interview Frank gave a couple of weeks ago, they're still going through the process with the rematch clause, whatever that crap is. I think it's to do with the WBO in the interim title. Wouldn't surprise me if that fight's added to this card. Again, another mate of Tyson's, Joseph Parker, trains with Andy Lee, who we know is going to be in Tyson's corner. Just makes sense for that fight to be on that card for me. And I hope it is, because then you got 3 fights. I mean, and that's not okay. You got 4 fights. McCann.
No, you're right. Fantastic. You're right. There's no way Parker would be on that card, because if Lee's in Tyson's corner, he's not going to go and corner Joe Parker. Then Tyson will be in part of Fury's preparations in the back and all that. They've never fought on the same card, I don't think, Parker and Fury.
Yeah, he's got John Fury there. Warriors, we're Sparta. He doesn't need anyone else.
If he's getting his 10%, he'll make it work.
We either need Parker Zhang or Bakole Caballel. That's what we need. And then you've got 4 fights on this card that are absolutely top-notch 50-50s that we can't wait to see. That's the reality. At the moment, we're dwelling on the negative of the fact there's 2 or 3 UK headliners being taken out to Saudi. That's more of a negative, because that's really the talking point of this undercard. Oh, okay, so what are the main events for the first couple of UK cards of 2025 going to be? That's the bigger question here. If you add some other fights on, you swallow the pill a bit more. If you don't, then it's going to be a lukewarm build-up because of what we were promised.
What main events are going to be on UK cards in early 2025? Paddy Donovan against Lewis Crocker will be one on a match route.
It's the only one I can think of. Noakes against Padley, maybe, if they don't make it before the end of this year.
But again, like it's not a big fight.
Chisora versus White.
Yeah, you could be right there, Jay. That's not a bad shot.
It's just really
David Miller or somebody.
Oh god!
You're just
Zora Miller would sell.
It would, unfortunately.
It would.
But the thing is, for us 3 here as proper boxing nerds that look into the future, look at how things are going to work, we're now also going, okay, but like we've just said, what's the UK picture going to look like for Q1 of 2025? Because you've taken at least 2 main events. Moses could have been a main event himself in this fight. So potentially 3 UK main events have just been put on this card. It's lukewarm for this card, and then it's worrying when you think about what we're actually going to get on British shores at the start of 2025.
Yeah, exactly. You have to start looking ahead, and I completely agree. If anything outside of the Chief support, Madrimov, Boachuk, would anyone outside of the UK care? No, American fans aren't going to be tuned into Moses Atama against Dempsey McKean or Peter McGrail against Dennis McCann. Yeah, they're not going to want to watch that, and that's the thing. It probably ultimately it'll do good numbers because Usyk and Fury's the headliner. They probably didn't need to put any of an undercard on at all, to be honest. But
no,
yeah, it's the only issue I have with it. I don't have an issue with the actual undercard. It's a good undercard in general, but building it up to be that there's going to be this best reality season card of the year. It isn't the best reality season card of the year. It's not even.
The problem we're going to have. So it's starting to bottleneck in Saudi, and it's just diluting British cards, and I fear that we're just going to end up with shitty cards over here. They're taking the cream of the crop, paying them big money. You know, they're not going to say no.
When British title fights and European level kind of fights are drifting off to Saudi.
So we're going to be left with Charlie Edwards. You know, I'm not disrespecting Charlie Edwards, but what I'm saying is they're the kind of fights, you know, European title fights, Channel 5 jobs, you know, copper boxes. It's scary for me. I know it's great that we're getting these big fights, but it's ruining.
Yeah, we just need to see. Riyadh season is like what it started off as, and what it always kind of has been was like, you know, the Riyadh season is the elite of the elite of the elite fight. September 21st.
Just put two massive cards on a year. Just put two massive Riyadh season cards on a year. And let the rest just do what they're doing. They're doing no problem with me now.
Yeah, I've no problem with the frequency of it, but when we drag in like you say, the domestic headliners out onto Riyadh season cards, then I think it's kind of it's not going to work in the long run.
That's what's worrying. Just bringing good domestic fights onto Riyadh season cards isn't what Riyadh season was supposed to be.
That's your market. That's where, if you're talking about Frank and Eddie, that's where your businesses were built on. You know, don't leave behind. Yes, I know they're chasing the money, and who am I to judge them for chasing the money? Go and do your thing. But you know, ultimately, we're fans, and we have to critique what's going on. But we'll see in 12 months' time, because you know, Turkey and Seller and everyone else, Riyadh season, who are funding these events, you know, they're taking a big loss on every card. And I know they're doing it to promote Riyadh and tourism into Saudi and whatever it is. But how long are you going to keep churning money out on it for? I know they've got plenty of it. But...
They can put as many big fights as they want on. No one's going to Saudi on holiday. Talking nonsense, mate. Not you. I'm on about them in general.
No, I know you mean. Going to Saudi. But they must be getting something out of it, because they're continuing to pump money in like there's no tomorrow. They must be doing
money though, isn't it? So
while we're on the subjects of like the Riyadh season propaganda, at Wembley for the Dubois AJ fight, every single advert that was pumped in, you normally get like what's coming up on DAZN and stuff like that. No. There was none of that. Everything was
Riyadh
Riyadh 2030. Welcome to Saudi. They were running a competition to win flights to Riyadh and all sorts. Everything was propaganda is a strong word, but by the end of the night, that's what it felt like.
That's their exchange. We give the money. Riyadh season. Everything's Riyadh season.
Yeah, that's my point. It felt a bit like, sports washing. This comment that's just come up. It was sports washing, but it also felt like Saudi propaganda. Everything was about competitions to bring you to Saudi. You know, look how great Saudi is. By 2030, we're going to be X, Y, and Z. It's just becoming too much now. And Eddie and Frank have sold their souls to Turkey. Nothing wrong with that at all. You've got to maximize the cash while it's there.
As are up for sale, Uncle Turkey, if you're looking to buy any more souls.
Exactly. We will happily jump on the bandwagon. I've got no issues with that.
Yeah, sponsorship, Riyadh season, no punches pulled is absolutely fine. But Pat, I'm going to cover that later because it's a good point. Obviously, Riyadh season's gone exclusively to DAZN. That's in the agenda for in a little while. Not Riyadh season level, Renner says. The Rhino getting sparked in the main fight is the one who cares about the undercard. Yeah, Dave Allen's in trouble in that one. Usyk knocks Fury out this time around. Yeah, potentially, I think, Wayne. Starting a big roll out the mediocre stuff. And it says,
my missus says I do exactly the same.
I'd like to see the Arabs funding massive cards and that money diluting down and creating big domestic bouts. Matchroom v Queensbury domestic bouts has huge potential. Yeah, I agree with that. And it looked like it was for a little bit because Frank put on some really good domestic cards in the middle of the year, but they fell off now. That Davis Masood card in Birmingham's nowhere near as good as the last Magnificent Seven that they did with Heaney and Pauls.
They're being billed as Magnificent Seven again.
I don't know, actually, to be fair.
No, I was going to say, if they're billing it as Magnificent Seven with what's on that card, I mean, we sang Frank's praises all year in terms of carrying the torch for all promoters in the UK. Look, after November 30th, unless Queensbury or Boxer announce another card, the only Matchroom are doing their Monaco show, but November 30th could be the last. There'll be small hall shows before anyone says anything, but the last televised TV card from a recognised promoter could be November 30th because Monaco is happening the second Saturday of December. And in Queensbury and Boxer haven't announced anything. We're in danger of November the 30th being the end of big domestic fights by one of the main promoters in the UK. And that's not good enough. It's as simple as that. That is not good enough. It doesn't matter how good a fight
They don't
you
care,
fight.
though, let's be honest. They're proving this now. They don't give a shit. As much as they say they're interested in grassroots boxing and boxing at home and domestic boxing, they're proving it that, money talks.
They hated each other for the best part of, 14 years at the
they never spoke, they'd never met. We're slagging it off now, but I guarantee you now, if I got an email from Uncle Turkey offering me to buy me out, then I'd be dressed in the regalia tomorrow. I'd have my headscarf on.
He's checking my emails.
I'd be champing in Riyadh season because everyone's got a prize. But the problem is, it's strangling the life out of British boxing. It is. I know we're getting great fights in Saudi, but that's not what keeps the world churning out these small hall shows. I know you've got what they're called, GMB or GBM, or you've got them, but they're picking up scraps that are left over. I know they've got some talent coming through, but if any of them talents are any good, they haven't signed with them, have they? They've already been picked up by Queensbury or Matchroom.
Yeah, no, that's it. They're a feeder system into Riyadh season, probably in Queensbury and Matchroom. I have no idea, David, why they played the anthem.
I'm sick to death.
It's sports washing. It's sports washing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, you have to remember as well that they played the UK anthem, but one of the did not play it at, was it Crawford Madrimov or something like that?
I'm not sure, but it was a Saudi event, so they play. I mean, they have the NFL at the Spurs Stadium. You don't hear anyone up in arms because they play the Star Spangled Banner. Why is no one kicking off there? Well, it's at a British stadium, but it's an American event.
Simon Jones.
Mate, I'll give you a simple answer for that. The way people's minds works is they'll see two American teams playing American football. Oh, it's fine. It's not. It's exactly the same thing as the Saudi anthem being done at Wembley. But because there's American teams there, play the American anthem. It doesn't matter that you done God Save the King afterwards on both occasions.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, but people
they made something out of nothing for me. We all know it's sports washing. No one's denying that. But the fact that they played the Saudi anthem at Wembley, it's a Saudi event. So, if Turkey wants them to play flipping Macarena, I'm pretty sure they would.
I'd do it.
For Turkey's dough, definitely. Yeah, Luca's right. Who cares about the anthem? Let's watch the fights. Let's talk about the fights. Absolutely.
I don't care about
you're right. A couple more talking points, boys.
And when races are playing, I'm going to rip my tickets up and throw them in the bin. I don't even want them. I just got them just to be a knob.
After Gallagher's performance at Wembley.
I'm not interested. I've never been into them, mate. I just got them because I queued and I know I can sell them, allegedly. This
is an interesting thing, actually, talking about the music we're getting, because we get it out in Saudi. We got it before Joshua and Ghani. We got it before the Fury Usyk Undisputed fight. Turkey and his advisors and the people around him have got so much right since they come into boxing. The fights we're getting, the matchups, etc., etc. Who has told him that anyone wants a music concert for half an hour when
that's the one thing mate, the break between that and how late it was like 1 o'clock in the morning.
No one wants that.
It was some dodgy rappers as well.
But this shows that the team around Turkey, he might know boxing. They don't know boxing. Boxing fans don't want to see that nonsense.
You know what Turkey's team do?
Yes, boss. I don't even like long ring walks when they've got rappers walking them out and nonsense like that. It's garbage. Just play your music, walk out, get in, touch gloves, let's go.
I couldn't imagine Turkey jamming to Oasis in his office, though, to be honest.
He's never heard of him.
He's not heard of him.
He's never heard of him.
But this is my point, because you think Hamza Shiraz got a second round stoppage of Tyler Denny. Imagine if we had 20 minutes and then we got straight into Dubois or AJ. Instead, you had a 20-minute break waiting for Liam Gallagher, so Wembley Stadium went flat. All right, inside the stadium.
That was it.
You had an hour. And he done 15 minutes free songs, and he sounded like he was strangling a cat across the microphone. It was genuinely horrendous being in there for it. Okay, it may have looked good on TV with all the fireworks and stuff, but you're sucking the life out of the enjoyment for people. Everyone likes a fast-paced card. Queensbury has started doing it. As soon as one fight interview's done, they're getting the next fight in the ring. They're starting to follow that UFC model.
A different audience, though, isn't it? It's a different audience.
It is,
You know, you were there, right? I've stopped going to big fights. Now I've traveled the world watching big fights and sitting ringside, right? I can't go anymore because it's a different kind of crowd. You've got tight t-shirt wearing, turkey teeth, covered in tats. Mrs. is with them. She doesn't even like boxing. There's nipping to the bathroom every 2 minutes for devil's dandruff. There's fighting. There's people smoking. It's a different crowd, and that's the crowd they're going for. The ones that will spend a fortune at the bar. The ones that will sit and watch Eminem rapping for 45 minutes or Liam Gallagher for half an hour. The likes of us don't want to see that. I just want to see 8 fights, 9 fights, 10 fights on the card, one after the other, and I'm on my way home. I just want to watch fights.
I agree with you, mate. If I compare York Hall to Wembley Stadium, okay, the show and everything around Wembley Stadium was the best I've ever seen at a boxing
format
event.
Was better.
I will take the atmosphere at York Hall with people that are actually there for fights and there for what's actually going on over the Wembley Stadium atmosphere. 100%. I agree with you there, mate. Proper boxing, proper fights. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I agree with that. A couple more talking points then, boys. Actually got quite a few more, so we'll try and whiz through them. David Benavidez against David Morrell. Looks like it might be happening on January the 25th. Love this. By the way, I want to make a point to you about this, about David Benavidez. So all of us, I think we're pretty in agreement about that David Benavidez wasn't ducking. I never thought he was ducking, to be honest with you. He's mandatory for whoever wins the Undisputed. I think he's in line to beat one of them anyway. He could have sat on it. Or people think that he's avoiding Canelo and he's voluntarily fighting David Morrell on January the 25th. David Benavidez is about it, man. He ain't ducking.
There's only one person avoiding that fight, and he's got ginger hair.
Yeah. David Benavidez fighting David Morrell just for the sake of it. Love it. Absolutely love it. There's no way that he's ducking Canelo Alvarez if he's fighting Morrell. No chance.
No, he's been calling for that fight.
Mate, you've just said it. He's the WBC interim champion.
That's it.
Regardless of whether he gets upgraded to full champion or he fights the winner of Saturday night, you've got a world title fight there waiting for you. Could have had a tin can layup on the Gervonta Davis snooze fest card that's been announced for December. Instead, he's taking on a real test.
Jesse Hart on that card, wasn't there?
Yeah, exactly. He's now taking on a real test against a real dog in a fight that we want to see, and it's keeping PBC alive for another 6 months at least, with or without the Diddy money. It's giving them a reason for PBC to keep rolling out. That's what this fight's doing, because it will generate talk, it will generate pay-per-views. But yeah, it's a fantastic.
There are people online saying that Benavidez was ducking. I've seen a lot of Americans online saying that Benavidez was ducking Canelo.
I'm sick of hearing shit like that.
There's boxing journalists saying
anyone at that level. They don't duck. I know I've just said it about Canelo, but the business wasn't right for him, and it was a risky fight. But at that level, they're not scared to fight anyone. No one's scared.
Do you think Canelo, just while it's on my mind, do you think Canelo will want the Bivol fight if he beats Beterbiev for Undisputed at 175?
No.
See, the only reason I asked that is Eddie was talking to I was watching an interview with Eddie earlier, and he's like, Canelo will see that fight as a lot more appealing if Bivol has the 4 belts, if you know what I mean.
Well, he might get bullied into it, but I don't believe he wants it.
I tell you why he'll want that fight and why I think it looks good. It's because it's a chance to become another undisputed champion.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
I just think it's too much risk for the reward.
But what else is he going to do if he's not going to take on Benavidez because Canelo is a businessman as much as he is a boxer at the moment. At this point in his career, he does what makes the most financial sense for him. If he's either going to keep taking on tin cans until he decides to call it a day in the next 2-3 years, or he is going to decide to roll the dice one more time. And for him, rolling the dice against the winner of against Dmitry Bivol makes a lot more sense, and there's a lot more rewards than rolling the dice against Benavidez. That's the argument for it. He'll see it as a lot more high risk, high rewards than rolling the dice against an up and coming fighter. Because if Benavidez loses to Canelo, Benavidez comes again. That's the reality. It's similar to the Canelo arc after he lost to Mayweather. Canelo will come again, and look what he's done. He's going to go down as a Hall of Famer. Benavidez can have a similar arc, so he's not really going to see the reward in that fight, but he sees it for Bivol. Whether we want to see it, whether we even think it's a close fight, I think the three of us all have a similar opinion on that. But money talks, and Canelo is a businessman as much as a boxer at this point. I know I've just said it, but that's the reality.
Yeah, I think it's pretty hard to not agree what you just said there, mate. Yeah, and I said Hearn talking of his fighter for a Bivol for a Canelo fight. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, well, I know what you mean, because Eddie O'Hearn will make a hell of a lot of money if Canelo fights Bivol. So, yeah, I do get his point there. But to be honest with you as well, as a Bivol guy like Eddie Hearn is, it's easy money, man. It's huge money. And Bivol fights him, doesn't he? So let's,
Eddie Hearn could be a Canelo guy by the time Canelo fights again next, because his contract's up with PBC. Like, this is the reality. Eddie is talking up because he's got Bivol at the moment, but he has also provided the opportunities for Canelo when he was on his 168 journey in terms of unifying that division, becoming undisputed in that division in under a year. So there's a relationship there with Canelo, as much as he talks up Hector Berlanga back in September, saying Berlanga's going to be the one that derails Canelo's end of his career. We know there's a working relationship there, and if comes to it, they'll do a two free fight deal again. Best believe it, Eddie Hearn's not stupid. He knows how much money he makes, regardless of who Canelo fights.
Yeah, definitely. Elsewhere from that, Anthony Yard, boxer. What's going on there?
Shy. He's having to pay Frank Warren 10% of his purse to be allowed to box. They're still going through court. Ben Shalom's done a deal with him. He's giving Frank 10% of his purse so that they can hopefully make the Buatsi fight later on next year.
It's lawsuit city. It's lawsuit city, isn't it? That's the reality of it. It's lawsuit city.
Yeah, but why? I'm sick of seeing Anthony Yard fight no one's.
No, and this is
fought TBA. Shite. Lions in the fridge or whatever it is.
Cheers, Anna. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Catch you next time, top man.
Thank you.
This is the thing.
Sick of it.
You look at what Frank Warren done for Yards, getting in both the Kovalev and Beterbiev opportunities when arguably he didn't deserve them. Now he's moved over to boxer. Nothing wrong with moving over to boxer if we end up getting the Buatsi fight at the start of next year.
Well, he hasn't moved to boxer. Well, he hasn't, though, has he, Liam? He hasn't announced that he's signed with boxer.
No, this is what I mean.
Fighting on that card.
Yard foolish.
Frank's lawyer's got absolute stiffy. He's loving life because Yard is probably going to have to give up 80% of his purse. That's the reality of it, if not more. This is going to be serious legal action. 10% is, it's going to be a serious issue. And what's he doing it for? He's doing it to fight a tin can that will knock over in a couple of rounds. Him and Tunde will go lions in the camp in the camera. And then if he does get caught up in legal crap, we might not see him in 2025. This is what blows my mind. He's taking such a big risk for very minimal reward in this fight, and he could end up screwing himself for next year. Because Frank, if he's in legal action, then there's no way he'll be fighting in 2025.
Definitely, I agree, Wayne. Eddie and Frank Smith come out and said that, we were under the impression that he's, not a free agent, so we didn't touch him. They're just throwing shade at Ben and Boxer. But clearly, it's weird. Like Wayne said, perplexed by it. Frank's gonna get his lawyer on the phone. But
no, Shalom, I don't believe. No,
Shalom's a shrewd business guy though as well. He ain't gonna do it. Shalom.
Do you seriously believe that Ben's gone anywhere near him without having a meeting with Frank? It's not as though Frank wouldn't have allowed it. The second that tweet went up, or that X post, or whatever I've got to say now, the lawyers that have had it taken down, they've negotiated this for a fight down. Because what they'll have said to Frank is, listen, we'll give you a percentage of his purse. You'll also get a percentage through the back door because Yard will owe you that anyway. So like you say, Frank's probably going to take half of it. Ben's there. He'll come out with 20% of his own purse because what they've said is, look, Frank, we can then make the Buatsi fight later on in the year. We'll give you a cut of that and then you let him fight out. That'll be him fighting out the remainder of his contract. There's no way that Ben wouldn't have had the balls to go up against Frank.
Mate, I completely agree with you, but this is the thing. Anthony Yard is 33, 34 years old. If I'm wrong, someone correct me. And we're in this position with him where he's decided to jump ship and he's committed career suicide because he jumped ship just before Riyadh season kicks in.
He could have been on Riyadh season fighting Beterbiev or Bivol.
Yeah, the problem for Yard, right, is he's not as popular as he thinks he is. He's another Eubank.
No, Frank's done a worldie for him.
He's nowhere near as popular as he is. And if, like I say, I hope that a deal has been done and he has this fight, and then we get him against Buat early next year. But if we don't, and if this does end up in a massive, messy legal situation, then he's mugged himself off even more, because he's taken, say, a 10-rounder, an 8-10-rounder next Saturday night, with the hope he's going to get a fight. And if he has screwed himself over, then 2025 we lose Anthony Yards again. And by the time we are talking about him fighting, we're sitting here going, yeah, but his last good performance was in 2022. He's 36, 37 years old now. He's too inactive. He's not going to be able to do it.
He'll end up being cannon fodder for someone like Ben Whittaker in a year's time. He'll end up being a name on people's record if he's not careful. He needs to believe it, achieve it, become it, or whatever they bloody say. Lion bars in your pocket.
It's just crap, mate. It's really crap. I do agree with you, mate. Ben and Frank have had a conversation, because Ben doesn't have the balls to say boo to a goose, never mind go up against someone like Frank Warren in this situation. But I'm pretty relaxed by it. He's coming back to TBA, so it's going to be some guy they pick up off the street on Wednesday nights, and they can get him on the scales on a Friday. He's going to look good in 2-3 rounds doing it. He's going to call out the world. I'm in a similar position with Anthony Yards that I am with Eubank Jr. I loved the journey. I wanted to see him do something big. Now I'm like, if we get the fights, we get the fights. If Anthony Yards retires and we don't see him fight again, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. That's
bored of it now, yeah. I think his best years are past him anyway. I think he's wasted those. He's had a good couple of. I mean, the Beterbiev loss, he should have got gone straight back into camp, and gone through the motions. But
taking too many tin cans. Him and Tunde want too many knockover jobs. Just he's got. You can compete. You can compete.
I think Tunde's held him back, to be fair.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me on that. I'm surprised
I don't think Yard could go anywhere else where he's not the main man. He needs to be the main man. He loves all that, like Mayweather. Yeah.
Main character energy. He has to have the main character energy.
Million percent.
Telling him how good he is, and
But Sam, go on, mate.
Because he's super talented. He is really talented. I'm not dissing him. He's really good. But I just think he's gone about it the wrong way. I hope he's made his door, because it's going to be a shitty couple of years for him if he's not careful.
Sam, you're right, mate. After the loss to Beterbiev, where his stock went up in that loss, he spent 8 months out of the ring, came back in for a 6-rounder against some geezer he knocked over in 2 rounds, and then instead of going for a European or British title, which he probably feels he's beneath, but reality is, doing that would have put him in a better position than the position he ended up in, where he had another knockover on the Hamza Shiraz Liam Williams card at the start of this year. And now we've not heard from him since, because he's decided to, if we're honest, act like a spoiled kid and throw his toys out the pram to the guy that's made him what he is. Anthony Yarde is a 2-time world title challenger because of Frank Warren, not because he's put himself in those positions.
Correct.
That's what you got to think. He's not even won a British title. He's held the Commonwealth title after beating Lyndon Arthur in the rematch. He chucked that away 48 hours later. He didn't even have any intention of holding on to it. Never been a British champion. Only looked for the biggest fights. But I reckon 60% of his career announcements have been TBA. And I'm sorry, we say Moses Satama was not having the career he had, and he was on his 11th fight, and TBA was being announced. We started to go, well, no, come on, we want to see him in with some names now. We want to know who he's fighting. We wouldn't stand from it from a 19-year-old prospect. Why the hell are we standing for it from a 33-year-old fighter that is absolutely jeopardized his own career? That's the point of it, mate.
There are similarities with him and Eubank. I think you're definitely right with that. How about lastly, before we finish up, watched a video this morning of Eddie Hearn talking about Lee Wood. I don't know if any of you have seen the clip from the interview, but he basically said that
there was no money in the fight. He offered him less. He won't take it.
Yeah, so he basically said that he's been overpaying Lee Wood basically for his whole time at Matchroom. He overpaid him for the Warrington fight that just happened. Then they offered him less money, but it was still more than what he should have been paying for. But who's in the wrong there? Is it Eddie or is it Lee?
It's Lee. Right, if you're going to get paid, so I go to work tomorrow, right? I get paid a set amount. I'm on salary, right? My boss then, or my business partner, or whoever, starts paying me 25% more, right? And then November comes and I get 25% more. And then December comes and he says, I can't pay you 25% more at the end of this month, but I want you to do just as many hours. In fact, I want you to do more hours. I'm going to say, nah, mate, that's not how it works. You've paid me this much in September, this much in October. I want that at least in November or December. It's exactly the same. You can't overpay him, right, regularly, and then turn round when he's won the fight to do another, like the rematch or whatever fight.
Yes, because like Eddie's basically saying that. Exactly. Eddie's basically saying, sorry to cut you off, mate. He's saying that Lee Wood's a great ticket seller and I'm not making any money on him. So, like, what's going on here? He's selling out all these shows. And
so why would you overpay him then? If he's a good ticket seller, but you don't make any money off him? Eddie's not an idiot, right? You wouldn't have overpaid him. Eddie's done some... There's been a few conversations had about Eddie and paying his fighters recently, and it's coming to... I mean, what can we expect? He's a boxing promoter. He's got to line his own pockets. But I think Eddie's... With Lee Wood, I don't like the way he's done it, because he's tried to...
messy, and Lee Wood shouldn't be like that.
It look like Lee Wood's being divish and greedy. If you're going to overpay him consistently, you can't expect him to then go for... You can't expect to lowball him and him to just roll over and go, oh, okay then. We've been overpaying him, as you said, more than he was meant to be worth for 3 or 4 fights. And let's be right about this, right? Lee Wood's played his part in all this. Have you ever seen him in a shitty fight? No.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So Eddie Hearn basically just don't like the fact that someone said no to him. So what's he done? He's done what he always done. He's tried throwing him under a bus.
The analogy that's come to me for this is you get used to a certain lifestyle. You get used to going out for caviar and lobster and enjoying fine champagne.
I don't know what lifestyle you're living, pal.
Mate, I don't live that life at all. This is an analogy. It's like you get used to that lifestyle.
Caviar?
What's that?
Exactly.
You get used to that sort of lifestyle, and all of a sudden you're back to your Russell's Burgers and your McDonald's and stuff. You're not going to take it to that.
I like it. I understand you. What they are, mate.
Yeah, mate, that's what I'm used to. I love it. But that is kind of a similar comparison to what this is here. Lee Wood's got used to delivering for Matchroom. He's carried Matchroom UK 2021, 2022.
Some of the best fights of the year he's been involved in over the past few years.
Yeah, Conlon, Warrington, even the Lara fights,
Kanzu. Like, he constantly carries Matchroom and made them relevant in the UK. Now, all of a sudden, he's getting told when he's looking to go up to a second weight,
you're not worth it.
We've been overpaying you. We got to pay you less. It's just a shitty situation, and it's one I don't understand.
Yeah, but it's a shitty situation. Sorry, but the worst thing is they were building up to potentially a stadium fight.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? Or a big arena fight. I don't care what Eddie Hearn says, right? You're not losing money on the Lee Wood fight. You could put Lee Wood in against any of the other featherweights, super featherweights, domestically, in a British arena, and it would probably sell well.
And it's the fight of the year. We're unfortunately in a position where we don't need a reminder, but for other people, it doesn't matter how full the arenas are, it doesn't matter how good the fights are. This is a business at the end of the day. And if Eddie's decided for whatever reason, right or wrong, to cut the ties with Lee Woods, it's just more proof that it doesn't matter how good the nights are, it's business and what makes business sense.
I don't like from Eddie, though, is all right, the relationship's gone west,
south,
right?
Yeah.
Or north or east or south or whatever. The relationship has been terminated, right? What I don't like about it is Eddie's acted like a baby and come out and say he didn't need to say this. We've tried to.
Well, I think Wood's been giving it a bit as well. To be fair, I think that's what.
Not like Eddie did. He's answered questions, right? He ain't gone out there and made arsehole statements, which Eddie did do, right? He could have just said the relationship. We've tried negotiating a fight. We can't broker a deal, so we're going to part ways.
Yep. Lee's constantly be saying on social media, I'm going to be fighting before the end of this year. He's not once thrown Eddie under the bus.
On the flip side of that, he's not coming out and saying, Joe Cordina caught me nicking 500 grand out of his purse, and that's why he's not fighting. So there's a reverse on that. Why ain't he coming out and talking about that? He's gone
allegedly
silent on that one. He's gone Radio Saturn, that one. Edward.
Yeah.
Hey, pal.
Allegedly,
mate.
Mate, it's true. It's just, it's a shame because we talk about that Anthony Yarder's sat on the shop shelf and wasted his best years in terms of having the best fights. Lee Wood's potentially now doing that. Look, he was already into the...
That's your accreditation, Sam Matchrooms. Go on, mate.
Lee Woods is in an Indian summer of his career, everything he's done since COVID. Now with this situation, who's going to want to take a chance on him? Who's going to want to think, okay, right,
boxer?
Lee Wood will get a fight. Absolutely.
It's just against who?
And you know what?
We've had so many different opponents for him.
He will fight for less money than Eddie offered him. Not because they'll lowball him, because he'll just want to fight. He'll say, give me X amount of 100,000.
He's old. Well, I say he's old. Like he's in the tail end of his career.
Yeah.
He hasn't got many fights left.
You've now been out the ring 12 months since your last fight. You've given up your world title because you want to move up in weight and have a stadium fight. He needs to do something. It's just a shame that it's come to this. Lee has answered any questions he's asked on socials or in interviews. He's very diplomatic and said, I will fight before the end of this year. I can't discuss too much, but I will fight before the end of this year. Eddie has come out and thrown an absolute hand grenade and tried to throw him underneath the bus. That's unfortunate. And you don't need it. You don't need to be doing it. Just say you're parting ways because you can't come to a amicable deal to get that vote.
No, but that's why I said that. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but that's why I said that about Joe Cordina, because what Eddie's done with that one is said, yeah, we've just, it's not worked, so we've just parted ways. Why didn't he say, well, actually, I tried to do this and it didn't work, so I did this, and he hasn't done that, has he? Or tried to throw Joe Cordina under the bus when he can't, because he's in the wrong. And I believe that he's in the wrong doing that to Lee Wood. It's like he's trying to mess him up moving forward.
I'm with Luca here. Lee has been moaning about Eddie because I've been following it a bit as well.
He's been frustrated. He wants to fight, and he's sat on the shelf. He got injured, recovered from his injury months ago, and he's been trying to get a fight. I'm not Team Lee Wood. I'm just a boxing fan, and I've watched from the outside. It's 6-2 for each. They've both thrown shade at each other. But all Lee Wood has said consistently from him recovering is, I want to fight. I'm trying to negotiate to fight in Nottingham, right? And if I can't, just get me a fight. They've tried negotiating, it hasn't worked. Eddie's lowballed it or offered him less. He said no, so Eddie's now made that public. I don't think that's not the good way to do business. Eddie's a smart businessman, and that just seems petty to me. Regardless of what Lee Wood said,
it's pettiness. That's exactly what it is. It is absolute pettiness. And Lee Wood will get another fight, but he'll probably never get a stadium fight now. I'll be very surprised if Lee Wood gets his City Grand Dream now. I think that
no chance. Absolutely not.
That ship sailed with his relationship with Matchroom.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. Is Yard world level, boys? Wayne's asked. No. I don't think so personally.
I don't think he's ever been world level. He's a world level puncher.
Yeah. He can knock anyone out.
Lee's in the wrong way, Luca, for not accepting low ball.
No, but like I don't know who's in the wrong. But what I will say is that I agree with where Eddie's coming from. Like, if he's losing money on Lee Wood fights, he's paying him too much. Then why would he continue to pay him? That's what I think. If I was Eddie, I wouldn't continue to pay him over inflated purses either.
I don't believe that for 1 minute. It
has to be true though.
Every single
Eddie would want to re-sign him if not.
He said every single shot. I've never made money on a Lee Wood fight. You're a knobhead then. You're a shit businessman then. Don't talk nonsense.
Is that what he said? He never made money on a Lee Wood.
Yeah, Eddie would not do that. He's not a moron. He wouldn't do that. All right, he might lose it on one show to get the traction, to get other fights, but nah, mate. Lee Wood were the best thing since sliced bread 18 months ago, as far as Eddie heard. Eddie was bigging up the City Ground fight. He's overpaid him 1 or 2 fights to get the fights. And then he's tried lowballing him because he's realised, I'm not making money off this. But he's not done that every single fight. No chance.
There's more.
I don't believe that.
There's more to this than meets the eye.
Probably going on, and we can all speculate, but
none of us know, do we, Ray?
No, none of us know. But But at the same time, what I do know is it's a crying shame that Lee Wood's not fighting because
his career's going to end up fizzling out.
Yeah. He's a free agent anyway, so he's free to negotiate with anyone. So,
that's what I'm saying about Eddie's done that to sort of put a spanner in the work to make it Lee Wood's hard to negotiate. You know, is this, is that, and it just didn't need that. Just wish him luck. Regardless, he's done well for Eddie Hearn. All right, if the shows haven't made money, he's got a lot of eyes on. He's been involved in some of the best fights I've ever seen.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good analogy actually by Luca. Yeah, obviously there's ways and means to go about it, but you know, obviously the bananas situation you have in there because people are buying other things, so you just sell them at a loss. Probably similar maybe to what I don't know what Eddie's plan was with him, but yeah, I saw that Hawkan. He's called out. Thanks for tuning in, Hawkan. Lee Wood's called out Anto Kakachi. I saw that, but he's got to fight Sugar, hasn't he, Kakachi, if he wants to keep his belt?
Wasn't really a call out as such, was it? He sort of mentioned his name.
Well, Kakachi was at the Nick Ball fight, and he said that I'll happily fight Lee Wood. And to be honest with you, it's a great fight, but he'll have to vacate because Sugar's not stepping aside again. He'll have to vacate.
I think Lee Wood will punch his head in.
I think Wood would win that fight as well, personally. If he hasn't aged overnight or through his inactivity or whatever it is. Good point. I forgot about this one. Subriel Matias and Matchroom, his manager came out and said that they are parting ways. So they took one fight, took in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico Paro comes in and shuts down the Matias hype train. And Eddie's like, see you later, son. Well, we don't know the full story because as Pat says, there's no official statement from Matchroom just yet, but that's pretty bizarre because everyone was saying he's the next second coming before the Paro fight.
Yeah, that shows you all about Eddie. It is about business. Yeah. He's not interested. He don't want to spend money building him again, so he's just got rid.
Business transaction. It hasn't worked out. You could see a way into the Puerto Rican market. It's not worked out. Sorry.
Back there now. The Aussie's back there against Richardson Hitchens. Is he not in December?
Yeah, he's back there, but that's what they saw the way in as being Matthias. Matthias losing to Paro was not meant to happen, regardless of how happy Eddie said he was that Paro's got the fight and he's a world champion. What a fantastic story. He was probably seething when he got back to his hotel room after the Matthias fight. His
100%.
His Puerto Rican business plan was blown up in his face on night one. That wasn't meant to happen. Matthias was meant to be his way into another market, transition across to America, Matchroom USA shows with Matthias, lots of fights there, and it just didn't happen. So yes, it's another business transaction for Mr. Hearn where he's cutting ties incredibly quickly.
Absolutely. Last question before we call it a day, boys. DAZN and Riyadh season is now exclusive. Will Mr. Frank Warren sign with DAZN, and what does it mean for Sky Sports and TNT Sports in future?
So I'm pretty sure Frank's got 3 or 4 years left on his TNT exclusive deal.
Well, I guess then, what do you think it means? And if Riyadh season events are exclusive to DAZN, what does it mean for Sky and TNT?
Sky are on a slow
work as they have done recently. I mean, you know, if it's a promotion, then they'll just negotiate a deal to show certain fights on certain platforms, whether it's exclusive or not. I feel. I don't believe they're going to sign. I don't think Frank will throw his eggs in with DAZN. I believe there's still too long left on the deal. I think they'll just negotiate viewing strategy.
Does that not mean, though, I might have interpreted it wrong, does that not mean that the only DAZN are going to be shown? That's the way that I took it. Does it not mean that? No.
It's basically saying only Matchroom fighters predominantly will fight on Riyadh season cards.
So that
can't work.
Digging a little deeper into it, it means that for the international fees, DAZN have rights to all the pictures, all the broadcasting, etc. What that doesn't mean is TNT and Sky, they have their own presentation team, but for the shows in Saudi at the moment, they take the DAZN graphic and they take the DAZN camera feeds anyway. The only thing that's different is the presentation. So
same as football. I mean, that's what happens with Premier League, isn't it?
Exactly. DAZN will have the worldwide international feed and product, but you can still get it in the UK via TNT and Sky if you prefer. In terms of boxer,
well, I'm 90% sure that you're wrong.
In terms of boxing on Sky, if Boxer does go down to Swanee, then they've still got the top rank deal, which definitely has at least 3 or 4 years left because they announced an extension to that earlier this year.
Frank not going with his own.
Frank will spin 2 plates. He'll be very happy to keep his domestic stuff exclusively to TNT and Riyadh season separate. He'll happily spin 2 plates. Him and Goldstar were already in some sort of partnership. Spencer Brown is linked to Tyson Fury. That relationship can cohabit quite nicely. He will stay across both platforms.
I still do believe that Riyadh season will bring out their own streaming platform, their own paywall, and we may see that in 2025. Just because they've signed exclusively with DAZN, Riyadh Turkey can do what he wants. I believe we will see it. That they will have their own paywall. If not 25, 26, they'll be their own paywall.
And that's why
Matthias is fighting on Fretch Productions in Puerto Rico against Roberto Ramirez on November 9th. That's the same night that Boots is fighting in BAM in Philly.
Jakarta.
I know. I'm joking. Bloody hell.
I think just finish it up on this. I think Turkey and Riyadh season have made no secret that they want to have their own production company. They already have all the images come from DAZN, regardless of where it's distributed around the world. So it's already done within one company. So they're just now making this official announcement so the images become even more broadcast just through DAZN. And they're slowly making the moves, like you say, Jay, towards their own production company. They know what they're doing. Linking themselves exactly to DAZN is exactly
I'm just laughing because I'm seeing all the comments coming in saying Frank's going to DAZN. I just see Jay's stone face. He's nodding.
I can't see him. I'm not reading them. I don't read nonsense. I don't read fairy tales. I'm not reading them. I'm listening to Liam. Nah,
his face. No, I think it's possible. Sorry, Liam, to cut you off. I was just laughing at.
I've not read them. I can't read DJ Pats anyway. I can't read hieroglyphics. Have a look.
No, I do believe that Frank will go to DAZN as well. It's happening. No matter what anyone says,
he will not sign an exclusive deal with DAZN. I guarantee you that now. I'll take any bets. Anyone thinks that they know the shit, put your money where your mouth is. Send me an inbox. We'll have a big bet. I'm not talking tens, hundreds. Let's put our money where our mouth is. I am confident that Frank will not sign an exclusive deal with DAZN.
Boys, anyone got big money to play with Jay's Fight Talk? You know where to find him, at Jay's Fight Talk on X. Anyone listening around the world, to dollars, yens, whatever it takes, he'll play with anything.
Frank won't do it. I'm telling you now, he will not do it. He might, do a deal with so many shows or so many fighters per season, but Frank's not going to completely lump in. He's got a very good relationship with TNT. They've negotiated a Box Nation deal, haven't they, to do streaming through TNT. What's he going to do? Whap all that on? If you're confident enough to put big money on it, I'm now not confident. I don't know anything, Luca. I've just got balls to put my money where my mouth is. I don't know anything. I just don't believe from historically.
It's too vague. The information we've got is too vague. We don't know if Frank's going to sign with DAZN. We don't. But it's been. Well, one thing I will say is that these things don't come out of fresh air. It has been talked about and stuff like that. Like, they don't come out of randomness. Like, there's definitely something in it somewhere.
And I just think joking, by the way, because my missus can hear me, so she thinks I'm gambling our money away, mate. I am dead, but no, I'm dead.
Just but to save Jay from spending the night in his van. I think Frank has got to give a lot of credit and has to remember that BT Sport, as they were at the time, brought him back into the mainstream after he started to build himself up again on Box Nation. He's not now all of a sudden going to allow himself to cut ties with a company that has, let's be frank, gave him his platform. Helped him grow, helped him build himself back up after he had to sell.
I agree with that. There's some loyalty factor there. Yeah.
How can is he in Scandinavia? Isn't he?
TNT not he wouldn't be able to get Warren shows. Yeah, that'd be big for I think Håkan's in Sweden. I think so.
Håkan, send me
partnership.
I know where. Allegedly, I'm joking. I'm one of the mugs that pays for every single bloody streaming service known to man. unfortunately, for my
But
partner.
yeah, Hawkan, we spoke about it before, haven't we? The amount of money that you're paying for a TNT, well, over here anyway, it's TNT, DAZN, Sky. If you want to watch Boxer, Matchroom, and Queensbury,
it costs me. I'll just give you an idea. I spend £280 a month to watch boxing and MMA. It's a lot of money.
Plus pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's not included. That's just Sky, Prime, BT, Netflix. Even though Netflix don't really show sport, but I watch that for.
Well, they're coming into it, aren't they, with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson?
Jake Paul. You've got your Discovery Plus. You know, I'm spending between £250 and £280 a month, and then if there's a pay-per-view, I'm up at £300 a month.
This is not. I do think DAZN far better boxing outfit. Yeah, I'd agree with that as well, Luca. DAZN's coverage is better, and yeah, Pat said they can't see it in Sweden.
Look, we would all love everything to be one broadcaster, one cost a month. I just think the way boxing's mechanics work, particularly over here in the UK, it's not as easy. It's not as easy.
Would it be good or bad? Sorry, Liam, it's just would it be good or bad if Frank went to DAZN?
I think for ease of making fights, yeah. But for boxing, no. I don't want to see it monopolised. I think it's better when it's an open market. We're going down that road. They're dragging us down there. We can see what's coming. They're going to monopolise it, and I don't want to see that. I do not want to see that.
Yeah. I'm in agreement with Jay. Would it make it easier for us as fans? Yes. Would it unfortunately lead to, in the long term,
dilutes the sport as well?
Yeah, it devalues the sport. In the short term, we'd love it for the first 12, 18 months, and slowly the cracks would start to appear, and we'd all be complaining that it is how it is. So,
well, it's happening with Riyadh season.
Yep.
I might be being dramatic, but the cards are starting. Do you know what I'm saying? This card that they're having in December, what we've spoke about, it's dropping down a level because they've made some of the big fights. I think it's great for us to get all these fights on these cards, but they should stagger them more, I think, and have headline with a few sprinkled underneath. Headline, a few, instead of doing bam, 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 and then we get what we get in December. 3 big fights, the rest of it's wonk.
It's happening before December. Riyadh season Latino night next month is already a non-pay-per-view, and that's arguably the worst card we've had for Riyadh season in comparison. If you want to be honest, like, it's already starting. December 21 feels like the tip of the iceberg because it's a pay-per-view, because we were promised something. But the November 16 card is pretty similar.
No, just what Luca's saying here. Well, yeah, it will, because look, Golden Boy and Matchroom, if they're all with DAZN exclusively, right? Who are you gonna have on the outside? Over here, GBM, Boxer,
Wasserman
over on Sky.
GBM are on DAZN, aren't they?
So there you go. Then so you're gonna have Boxer by themselves.
Boxer, Wasserman.
The bit on Channel 5. They're basically monopolising the UK viewership through exclusive deals with DAZN. I don't want to see that. I don't mind them doing cross promotions and working together and having 5 versus 5s, but I think it should be how it was. When me and you did the watch alongs, Sam. I think you watched it on Sky. I was watching it on TNT. Do you know what I mean? And everyone could choose their own channel, and everybody made money. You know, everybody paid for the pay-per-views, and everybody got a cut. Well, it's all going to go to DAZN. They'll all get the fees. It's becoming like the UFC. It's like this one person is controlling everything, and they're bringing them all under one banner.
But just on this comment, it matters massively because, like, comparing it to the UFC, Dana White and that organization having the monopoly over it all devalues the product, devalues fighters' purses, so they have no choice in where else they can go. The UFC is on the shows, so they've got to stay in the shows. But we hear rumblings. Fighters aren't happy with their purses. They feel like they're being underpaid, but they can't go anywhere else.
Look at some of the cards that the UFC put on. The shit, absolute rubbish.
But if you get on the outside of Dana and the UFC, then you're screwed because you can't make 2 pence worth with any of the other organizations, and that will be the position we end up in with boxing. The product value will go down, so the purses will go down for fights, and fighters will have to stay
A monopoly full right, Luca. Listen,
hold on, just this comment here with Luca here.
Monopoly full stop is wrong. It's in business, in broadcasters. The whole point of a monopoly is to have ultimate control, right? Nobody should have ultimate control of a sport that is made up of individual contractors and individual promotional outfits. It shouldn't all be under one banner, because then it gives one control. It gives ultimate control to not just one person, but that broadcaster then becomes in charge. It becomes basically the head of boxing, and fights will be made by TV execs instead of promoters. That's
just this comment from Luca here, the one underneath, Sam. If you think that he's talking about the DAZN don't control purses, just a point. If you think that broadcasters don't have a say in what fights they see on their platform, that's the reality. Then you don't know. Sky would used to tell Matchroom what fights they wanted to see on their pay-per-view cards. That's how, they do it now with Boxer. TNT tell Frank what fights they want to see. DAZN will normally tell Eddie when it's not red season cards. The broadcaster has a say in what fights they see. We don't need to see a monopoly of it all under one banner. That's where it starts to become a devalue product, and that's what no one wants. Broadcasters do have a say. They may not control the purses, but they have a say in what fights they see, so in how big a purse is and how.
But that's going to be the problem. If they monopolize it, then they will control the purses, because they'll say, right, you're putting a show on in Sheffield, for example. You've got 1.2 million to make the card, but we want Eubank Jr. versus X. I want 9 fights. And then they've got to try split the money between. That's why UFC pays such crappy at the bottom end, because they get a set amount from ESPN to put so many shows on that an ESPN will say, right, you're doing Salt Lake City, you've got this much, and do you get what I mean? So they will control the purses. Ultimately, they will. It's not a good thing. Monopoly's not a good thing. For me.
However, on Pat's point here, it isn't right that European countries aren't seeing Queen's.
No, it's not. No, it's not. That's to do with broadcasting.
I'm very surprised that hasn't been addressed.
They may do that. They may open that up. But yeah, it's not for me. And you can never convince me otherwise. I prefer promoters to have their own TV deals with their own TV networks. They can work together. One thing about Turkey, what he's done good is he's brought them all together. But as we know, it's through money and sports washing. But, we'll all sit and watch. As much as we say it's wrong and it's unethical, we'll be doing a live on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll wrap it up there on that point. We'll be back. We'll probably be back before Saturday, in fairness.
No, we'll be back.
We'll be back for the Beterbiev versus Bivol. Most of the card watch along. Probably come on for the Ben Whitaker fight, I would say. Liam, I think you might not be there for that one, but myself and Jay definitely will be. Want to give a big up, obviously, of course, to Luca, DJ Pat, Wayne, Hawkan. Anna was here for a good bit as well. Mr. Neutral stopped by. David Corner, Undisputed Fight Talk, stopped by. Don't think I've missed anybody. I think I said Wayne, but big up Wayne as always. But thanks very much, everyone, for tuning in. As always, we'll see you for much more Beterbiev versus Bivol, and have a fantastic evening, everyone.
Cheers, everyone. See you later.